Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 20 neutral fall Dollar Tree DIYs for you. I know a lot of you guys enjoy the neutral colors for fall, and so do I. So I put together 20 of my best neutral fall DIYs from the Crafty Vault. I hope you enjoy. So for the first DIY, we're going to DIY one of the metal acorn signs from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to use one of their plain square blank signs for these. I love these for crafting. I'm going to make my a standing sign, so I don't need the bead hanger on the top. So I just use my pliers to remove that. I'm going to make it a standing sign with some of this Dollar Tree craft wood. And I'm going for really kind of a farmhouse, beautiful vibe on these DIYs today. And so I want to be using like a lot of warm colors, a lot of like browns, natural materials, and a little bit of book pages as well. So I'm using some Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm just going to stain the frame of this. I'm going to cover the back of it to give it a really fun background behind the acorn. This sign is a little bit smaller than the acorn sign, which is going to work out perfectly. Kind of give it a 3D vibe. I just use a baby wipe to wipe off my excess Antique Wax by Waverly. And then I'm also going to stain the wood stand to match. This is just a piece of their like chunky slat wood that they have at the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree, and you can see how beautifully it stains, and it's a perfect size for a base for the sign. Now for the acorn sign, I don't need the hanger on this one either, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. I'm also going to kind of sketch out where I want the acorn to be, just with an ink pen, so I know where to kind of put the background material. It's not going to sit super far off the sign, but it is enough to put something small and decorative, and so I'm going to use some of that floral moss they have at Dollar Tree right now. It is like the brown floral moss. It's not my favorite, but it does work well for this project. I just attach it to the sign with a little bit of hot glue, and I don't really care if you can see a little bit of like the ivory sign behind it. I just want to get as much of it covered as I can with this moss. I think it's going to go great with the acorn feel for fall. But I don't want to waste the floral moss by putting it underneath the acorn. And again, there's not a lot of room, like depth. And so that's one reason why this floral moss works pretty well, because it's nice and thin. I just put a little bit of hot glue everywhere I'm going to need it, and just kind of push that down inside. I haven't been finding the Spanish moss and the reindeer moss at my Dollar Trees at all lately. I don't know if there's a supply issue with that. I did notice that I could order them online, but I don't want to order like a gigantic case, and because some people on there, like on their reviews, have said they got like ugly brown dead moss. But I hope they get it back in sooner. I'm gonna have to check out somewhere else. I think one of you guys said Walmart has it as well. So you can see that the tip of the acorn cap and the very tip of the acorn are going to overlap the frame a little bit, but that's totally fine. I like that look. Now, I just picked up a book at the Dollar Tree, and I was trying to like look at some pages that didn't have something crazy written on it. You might be better off trying to like select your book. I just grabbed one. And I'm going to cover the acorn nut itself with the book page. So I'm just going to lay the metal acorn on top and sketch that out with an ink pen. So I know how to cut that down. We're going to like age and dye the book page too to make it look really pretty for fall. So I just cut along that line. I was trying to get like as much words as I can, like less like chapters or subtitles or anything like that. And I'm going to dye it with some Antique Wax by Waverly mixed with some water. I just want a light stain. You can also do this with like tea bags, coffee, stuff like that, which I really didn't have anything available, so Antique Wax actually worked really well for it. The only thing is it gets the paper really wet. So I use my heat gun to dry it thoroughly, And then for a little more detail, I have like a bronze Sharpie, and I'm just going around the very edges to kind of give it almost that burnt edge look around the side, just to give it a little bit more character. That looks really good. Now I can just go ahead and attach it to the metal acorn with some Mod Podge. I always really enjoy the galvanized metal shapes for seasonal items at the Dollar Tree, but sometimes it can be a little hard trying to figure out what to DIY with them. I think this was a really fun way. So I just smoothed that out on the Mod Podge, trying to get as less wrinkling as I can. And then we're going to use just lunch bags from the Dollar Tree. We're going to be using these a lot today. I really love how these craft. And I just put a couple together, and I'm just cutting out strips about 1.5 inches, maybe 1.5 to 2 inches wide. And I just take a strip and crinkle it. I just broke it at the end, so I have like just a crinkled strip like that. And I'm going to cover the acorn cap with this. It's going to give it a really fun texture, and I'm a big fan of these paper bag DIYs. We're going to have a lot of them in today's video, and I hope you enjoy them. So that looks like it's a pretty good start. I'm going to go ahead and attach them with hot glue. The more crinkly you get them, the better. And when you glue them on, it's okay to kind of like switch directions, crinkle them. Just try to give as much interest as possible with that. And then I'm going in for a second row. I'm going to try to get it as close as I can to the first row so you won't be able to see any of that metal through. But again, I want it just to be really random. That's going to make it look its very best. And for my third one, doing the same. And as you can see, that goes really well with like the book page, like tinted that color. I really like that. I think I need one more to kind of cover the gap here between the paper and the metal. And I think that makes a really interesting like looking acorn cap. A little piece I can use here for the stem of the acorn. Just trying to cover all of the metal like I can, and then I can just flip it over and kind of trim up some of the excess so it still retains that really pretty acorn shape. One thing about doing this is it also covers the holes on the top of the acorn, so those won't be a problem either. Now you could spray to seal it. I kind of left mine as is, but I do seal one of the projects today with that, and it actually turned out pretty good. I attach it with a little hot glue here and there, but then I thought I probably need like a spacer in between, so I just took one of those pieces left over from the lunch bags and I folded it into fourths, just using hot glue to glue them all together, and it gave me the perfect depth spacer, and it would have been trash anyway. So I just hot glue that on, gluing it to the frame and to that paper bag spacer. And then to finish it off, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree wood words. This one says Hello Autumn. I'm just going to leave it the unfinished wood. I think it's going to look really pretty with the colors we already have here. And I just glue that right on top of the book page. Isn't this so pretty? I'm really loving it. Now, all of my DIYs today, I'm going to be a lot of like natural materials like this and neutral colors, but also a little bit of green. And I just go ahead and hot glue it to the base. I do one strip of hot glue across, really let that dry and set up. And then I always like to reinforce it with like another bead of hot glue there on the back to make sure it's super strong. I love it, but it does need that little bit of green. So I'm going to use some lamb's ear, and I just pulled off the top. It kind of gave me some tiny leaves, and I really only want the 2 small ones. So I put a little hot glue on the tip and kind of work it behind the acorn. Fits snugly in there, but perfect for just a few leaves on top of the acorn stem. There it is, our little Hello Autumn acorn sign. I think it is really pretty, and I hope you enjoy this DIY. What do you guys think about this one? I don't think I've really DIY'd very much with book pages, but I really love the look of it. I think it's really pretty, especially for fall. And I could really appreciate some autumn weather right about now. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, it's free. Just hit the subscribe button and turn on bells for notification. These LED wood lanterns that I found at Dollar Tree for only $3. It looks like white wood. It's so cute. It has a hanger at the top. I just went ahead and removed that. And make sure that you have batteries for these Dollar Tree lights because a lot of them do not include the batteries anymore. But I kind of like the fact that they take either AAA or AA because it does make them easier to change out. Instead of, those little cell batteries that a lot of Dollar Tree lights have. Now, I want to decorate the top of it for fall, but I also want it to be like a neutral fall color scheme on this one. So I'm using one of their burlap leaves, and I am just going to hot glue it to the top and cut off the excess. It's a little bit bigger than what I need it to be. So I just kind of put it on there exactly where I kind of want it to come out and hot glue it, and then just cut off the rest of the leaf. I wish that Dollar Tree had these burlap leaves in maybe a little bit smaller size because I do find that they are too big for a lot of my projects. I am going to tack down some of the leaves though, so they will kind of go down the top of it. And we're going to decorate the top of this with some fall florals, make it look really cute, but not necessarily using like some traditional fall colors on this one. And I have about every kind of light and about every kind of color scheme for fall lights today, a wide variety. So that looks pretty good. Now what I want to do is I want to put some floral foam on the top of that to decorate. It's going to be easier to attach the greenery and the flowers that I have on there. I want to do lamb's ear. I thought that would look really pretty for fall. I love using that for fall. I know it's not traditional for fall, but it looks so great with fall decor. So I just take a little piece of the Dollar Tree floral foam and I cut just a little chunk. I'm also going to kind of make it a little bit narrower at the top just to kind of make it easier to hide. And I cut it just to the size of that little wood square there at the top. I attach it with a little bit of hot glue, and that's going to make adding the greenery to the top of this so much easier. Now, I don't want you to be able to see the green foam, so I am going to try to disguise it a little bit with some of their brown floral foam. I'm not crazy about this stuff, but I'm just going to glue a little bit on every side. The foam doesn't really like hot glue very much, but as long as I can get about at least half coverage on here, the florals and greenery will fill up the rest. I just thought this might help mask the green color because I definitely don't want any of that to show. So I do that on all the sides. It is a little bit messy to work with that stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that up a little bit. This is what our lantern looks like so far. And I want to use lamb's ear. So I'm so glad Dollar Tree carries lamb's ear now. It's so pretty. I just take a bundle of 3 off and then just press it into the floral foam. It's so pretty. Over here, I want it to look a little bit different. So I did like 2 leaves that were together. When you can grab them like that and they're still together, it just makes it so much easier. I'm going to do some more back here to kind of give it a little height. And you can kind of mess with them, make them kind of go whatever direction you want them to be. I want it to be kind of cascading down the sides of the lantern. And I'm going to do like maybe 2 right up here. And that floral foam from the Dollar Tree is so soft, it works really well for that. I will add more lamb's ear, but for right now, I want to get started on the fall florals. I don't know what these are supposed to be, but they just say bouquet. And I love the neutral colors of these. So it's like an ivory leaf with like the brown middle. And I am just using my heat gun to iron these. It's such a great trick when you're working with the Dollar Tree florals. If you find that any of your leaves are bent, just a quick blast with some hot air and they just straighten right out and they look so much better. And Dollar Tree greenery has gotten so much better since I've been crafting on my channel. It's almost a pleasure to work with right now. So I just went ahead and did this one on the top. I thought I could leave the 2 together, but I kind of like doing each one individually so I can get it just the right height. Sometimes I had to like cut off some of the little side plastic pieces just to give me more of a stem where I could push it in there. And I'm going to go ahead and use the entire bundle of these to cover the top of it with the white flowers. I had somebody being really mean to me on my other YouTube channel, Crafty Little Beach, the other day, telling me that ivory flowers are not for fall. And I invite that person to go into Dollar Tree and look at the fall flowers because they have lots of ivory flowers and with the fall decor. and they're great for neutral fall. Now, these are some of the little cotton picks. I kind of had trouble finding these. I noticed they're like more crafter square, less fall, but I think they work great for fall. And they do have wires on them already, so I can use that wire to kind of just make little cotton picks that are just perfect size for this. I think I'm going to use 2 of them and kind of have them off-centered. One on the front on the right, kind of one back here, peeking up a little bit from the back, and I think that gives it a nice touch of fall as well. Now, I did want to add a little bit more lamb's ears, so I'm going to get a couple more pieces just to have kind of break up some of the white flowers and give a more leafy appearance up here. And I just want it to look like it is just completely full of flowers and greenery up here, because there's really nowhere to decorate inside this lantern because all of the room is taken up by the candle that's in there. And I think that looks really good. I'm just making sure it is nice and full, and I kind of like the height everything is adjusted at. And the great thing about this is it's got like the battery operated candles, so it kind of flickers and doesn't just light up. So let me show you how this turned out. I think it is so pretty. I absolutely love this lantern. I was thrilled when I found it at Dollar Tree just the other day. It is well worth $3 and so much easier than trying to DIY that from scratch. This is what it looks like lit up. So pretty, and I love the neutral fall color scheme. I've been using that a lot this year with my fall DIYs here on YouTube. So pretty, I love it. And I did want to show you on this one because it does flicker, kind of that effect. We're going to start with one of these wood wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. I love these. It's like an MDF wood. And one of the grass skirts from the summer section. So this is the adult size. And what I'm going to do is just cut it in half. One grass skirt, one adult size grass skirt is enough to make the entire wreath. I had some of these left over from my luau party video. So I am just going to kind of gather it together at the top, just to kind of bunch it together. And then what I need to do is cut it into thirds. So I just kind of group it together here at the top. And then I'm going to kind of try to fold it to kind of estimate like what a third would be. I'm not really going to measure it or anything like that. I'm just going to guess. That looks about good. So I'm just going to bundle it together, and I did cut that in half, remember, so I only have half of the grass skirt right now. I'm going to cut the twine from the waistband, and so then the second piece I'll just have to cut that in half. So I have 3 bundles, and this is a great way to get raffia. It's really easy, and I've used this technique before to make a coastal wreath, and I actually liked doing it this way a little bit better than I did it last time because I like this wreath form a little bit better. I'm just going to take a zip tie, take that bundle, and about halfway up, I am just going to zip tie it to the wreath form, kind of letting it go off to the sides along the wreath. And then you can just kind of crinkle it, bunch it up if you want to kind of make it look more like raffia and less like a grass skirt. So my second bundle, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, if you can't find this wreath form, sometimes I can't find this at Dollar Tree. You can use the metal wreath forms. I've done it with the metal one with like the 3 wires. Because once you kind of puff it up like this, you wouldn't be able to see. You could just do like the middle bar. It would totally work, but I think it was easier to do it on this one. So this is the third bundle, and as you can see, that covers half of it. So the other half of the grass skirt is going to be plenty. And you want it to overlap slightly, and then you can just kind of squish it, mix it. I wanted to make it look kind of crazy like raffia. So the more you kind of mess with it, the better. So this is the other half of the grass skirt. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the twine from the waist, kind of estimate about like what a third would be. You only have to really measure that first one, because then the second part, you can just cut this part in half, just fold it in half and cut it. And we have 3 more bunches for this wreath. This is going to be a really easy fall wreath with the neutral color decor, and I really like how it turned out. It was so easy to put together. I always look for easy ways to make wreaths because sometimes they can be really time consuming. I know some people take these and tie these all individually, like 3 at a time, to kind of go out towards the side. And you could do that. I'm sure it would look really pretty, but it's going to take you a long time to do it that way. So here is our 5th bundle, and we have one more left. As you can see, it's nice and fluffy and full, and it's a fairly large wreath form. It's definitely big enough for your front door. So here is the last one, and I'm just using zip ties from the hardware section at Dollar Tree, and I was using the smaller ones just so they will be a little bit less obvious, but you really can't see anything once you fluff up all of this raffia and kind of blend it in together. Now it's time to decorate it. So I wanted neutral. So this is what I'm going to use from Dollar Tree to decorate it. I did not want to make a bow. I wanted to see if I could decorate it another way. And so we're going to start with some of the burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree. Now these have wires on them, which comes in handy. I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm just going to kind of find a place here in the bottom left corner, and between bundles of the raffia, I just wire that around the wreath form. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my second one. I'm going to do a total of 3 just because I think it's going to look better with odd numbers, and kind of have one of the maple leaf like pointing out each direction. And this is going to be kind of the base for the decor that we're going to add to it. And the fact that those were already attached to wire really came in handy. Now these are the fall leaves that I'm going to use to decorate. This is like a color that's really similar to the grass skirt, and then kind of a brownish color. And when you pull them off, they're like both connected to the same piece. So I'm just going to leave them on there. And for the first row, I'm going to do a total of 3, kind of like that. I'm actually going to use a zip tie to attach them because they do have the little hole from the stem in here. And I thought I could just take one of these small zip ties and just feed them through. So just kind of going in the same direction, I'm just going to stack those on that zip tie, and then I can just go around the same place. I kind of attach the leaves here and zip tie that in place. And then just kind of arrange them the way that I want them to look. I do want to do another layer of those to add some more depth to it since we're not doing a bow or anything like that. So I'm going to use 2 more of the sprigs. I'm not going to use any of the berries that were on this one. But I think 2 more is going to finish it off really nicely. So just like I did with the first row, I take one of the small zip ties from the Dollar Tree and just feed them on, both going the same direction, and attach that to the wreath form as well. Zip ties and wreaths are definitely the way to go. It's so easy and really secure. So I just kind of arrange these how I want them to lay. And then I want to decorate them with some pumpkins. These are the ones with wires on them, so that's going to come in handy too. And I chose the ivory color of the small pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. And since I like to work in odd numbers, I'm going to do a total of 3. Kind of do them all at once. The wire on these is not super long, but it is long enough to go around this wreath form. I just kind of feed it around in the same place that I did all of the others and wire it to it. Easy peasy, and I think it looks really cute. And again, it's going to be down on the bottom left corner like this where I have the fall leaves, and I think it was a really nice fall touch to add to this, and I'm so glad I decided to make one of these grass skirt wreaths for fall because I really think it goes great with that. If you had any like faux corn or anything like that, that could look really good on it as well. And then I just take some twine here at the top, and I am just going to knot off a little loop here to make a very simple little wreath hanger that I'm going to kind of hide down inside the grass skirt where you won't be able to see it. And this DIY is complete. I think it's really pretty, especially if you have like a color or a dark front door. I think the contrast of this light color is going to look really good on it. It looks like raffia. Looks really cool. I don't think you can really even tell that it was a grass skirt, right? So a fun way to use those grass skirts for a fall DIY, and really one of the easiest ways I've ever made a wreath. It's just so easy to put together. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to DIY one of these mesh pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. These are not really my style, but look how easy it is to take them apart. You can just pull off the mesh and you're going to get a great metal cage. I want to pull off all of it. If he had a candle on the bottom, I just went ahead and pulled the whole thing out. And what I want to do is turn this into like a paper bag pumpkin. So again, I'm using the paper bags from the Dollar Tree. I think you get like 30 of them in a package for $1.25. And I'm going to need a lot this time. So I do a stack and I'm just going to cut them all at once. I like to cut the first little strip off to get that little rounded cutout part off of it so I can have some straight lines. And I'm just going to cut strips again. So probably about 1.5 inches. And I try to get as many as I can out of one bag. I just rip it into a strip like this. And then I'm going to crinkle and twist it. So as much like crinkling, the better. I kind of twisted mine a lot on this one. I do go more with like a crinkling technique, but I start here at the very top and I just attach it to the metal cage with hot glue. And then I'm going to do that all the way down the side. I think this is going to be a really good cage for this. I know that you can do this with like a foam pumpkin as well. You're going to have to cover all of it though. I cover most of it because I don't want you to be able to see inside and see all the metal and everything. But I don't cover all of it. So there is going to be a little bit you can see through it. So for the next one, I do the same thing. I just attach here. And for these that are actually on the metal spindles, these are going to be like the sturdiest part of our structure. We are going to go back and add more in between, but right now I want to go ahead and get the structure done first. And so I'm just hot gluing it from the top to that bottom circle and then just cutting off the excess. I guess you could make it go further around, but I don't think it's going to be long enough to go all the way to the other side. You're going to have to start and stop, which I didn't really want to do. I wanted them to all be one piece. And again, I'm gluing them on there just like super random, folding this way and that way. And it really came out with a really fun woven pumpkin design. Now, this one did take a little bit of time, so, you know, put on your favorite YouTuber, put on a good song, and craft. It's really easy to do. It's just a little bit time consuming for how many of these you have to do. So like I'm just taking these and crinkling them up off camera and gonna speed this up for you to go fast. But again, I don't really want much overlap at the top. I'm just kind of going from the very top where the circle is and stopping where the circle is on the bottom. Originally, it had like a battery operated candle in there. I'm not going to add that. I just want this to be for decor. Now, some of my leftover pieces were longer than others. Most of them were too short, but a couple of them were long enough where I could kind of hot glue these in. For the first one, I kind of attached it to the one next to it and the top and the bottom, but then I realized I can just attach it from top to bottom. Since it's a paper bag material, it keeps its shape pretty well, and I have so much metal structure going on in the pumpkin that it's fine to kind of be like a floating piece like that. So you're going to need about 2 strips on each one of your gaps to fill it up. This one I only needed 1, but I think all the rest of them I ended up using 2. I guess it's just kind of how far the little metal pieces are from each other. And as you can see, I'm just taking a strip and I am hot gluing it from the top and hot gluing it onto that bottom ring. Those are the only 2 places it is attached. And I'm doing that for each gap. So like, as you can see, like some of those rings stick out further and some of the rings go in further. So it does really have that cool pumpkin shape in the end because of the structure of this cage, which is one reason why I like to craft with this one from Dollar Tree. And again, just cutting, twisting, and lots of gluing. I really love how this turned out. I've seen people do this with like, the large pumpkin wreath forms, which we're going to be doing one of those today. We're not going to be doing this method on it, but I've seen people do this method with that as well, which would be really pretty too. And I've even seen people spray paint them orange afterwards, which I'm not going for all of that warm color today. I really want to stick with like neutrals and the cool greens. So I think it looks pretty good with just the paper bag material. I just shape it a little bit, and then we need to start working on the pumpkin stem. I just went ahead and took a couple of them, like 3 of the leftover strips I had, and just twist them all together to give me some material to start working on this. It's got like a metal pumpkin stem, which is going to be kind of the base that I'm going to start with. I use hot glue and then just wrap it around, gluing that down, covering up that little metal pumpkin stem that was sticking up, but I think it needs more of a pumpkin stem. So I take more of those leftover pieces and I twist them together to give me a large, like gnarly looking pumpkin stem. And I just glue that to what I just made there. I made it kind of long so I can shorten it a little bit, twist it to make it look like a pumpkin stem. And I think this is looking really cute so far. What do you guys think about our paper bag pumpkin? Now to decorate it, I wanted to do some leaves. I'm going to go ahead and make a paper leaf using a page out of that same book I got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm using one of their little leaves from the Dollar Tree as a stencil. And I'm just going to kind of sketch that out with my bronze Sharpie so I'll know where to cut. And again, just kind of pick a place on the page and then go ahead and cut out this maple leaf shape. I think this is going to be very neutral. It's going to look really pretty against the paper bag pumpkin, and it's just the perfect size. Now I was trying to decide which side of the paper I liked better, but again, I'm going to age this one too with some Antique Wax by Waverly mixed with water. I get the perfect shade of distressing. I like that. And again, it's super wet, but it dries with just a heat gun, and then we can craft with this. Now, I did have the Sharpie edges on the one side, but I kind of want it to be a little bit more subtle. So I'm going to do the other side and just slightly go around the edges, just edging it with that bronze Sharpie to give it that like kind of like burnt like look. And I really enjoyed crafting with the paper bags today and with the book pages. Really fun. I'm doing the empty nest thing here where I'm really sad that my son is off at college again. I'm really happy with him being there and proud of him, but I miss him so much. Empty nest is hard, guys. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been there. Now, I also wanted to do like one of these little craftwood leaves, and they also have a maple leaf like this. I picked this up at the Crafter Square at the Dollar Tree. I do want to add a little bit of color to it. First, I went ahead and cut the stem off of it to make it just fit a little bit better. And then I want it to be a soft green color, kind of like the lamb's ear. So I'm mixing some like leaf green with just some white to get like the really fun color of green that I wanted. And just using a makeup sponge, I am going to lightly paint that. A makeup sponge works great for this because you're not going to get paint stuck it down in all those little nooks and crevices there on the leaf. So I think that looks really pretty, really subtle little detail. And I'm going to glue that on with some hot glue right here next to the book page leaf. Now to finish it off, I kind of wanted a little tendril. I had some of this berry garland from the Dollar Tree, but it had these orange and red fall leaves on it, which I didn't really want the color, so I just cut them off. I just wanted the little wire tendril that I wrap around a paintbrush to give me a little curly tendril for my pumpkin. And since it's kind of open, I can kind of put that down inside the paper and it stays right in place. And there it is, our little paper bag pumpkin. I think it is so beautiful. You could decorate this for really any style. I really like the idea of leaving it just the plain brown and not painting it. But doesn't that look really cool? It looks so much better than it did before. I don't think you can really tell that that is the same pumpkin. So I found this woven basket at Dollar Tree today. I thought the colors were nice and neutral, and I want to keep that neutral fall color scheme on this DIY. I thought it'd be fun just to light up the basket with some fall items. Again, I'm going to use some of the Fairy Garden battery operated lights. I love these. And I really wanted pine cones for this, but I couldn't find any. And I never can find them in Florida. I don't think we're a good state for that. So until Dollar Tree gets them in, I am out of luck. But I just go ahead and pop a couple of batteries in here. I always make sure they work before I go to the trouble of screwing them back on there, but I don't think I've ever had one of these not work. I get my batteries in bulk like this from Amazon in AA and AAA. I should add those to my Amazon shop. They're really a great bargain if you go through a lot of batteries with crafting or kids or anything like that, and they work really well. Now for the potpourri, since I couldn't find pine cones, I didn't want like the bright red color of the apple cinnamon, which would be more traditionally for fall. So this is more of a lemon citrusy scent, but I liked the colors better on this one because there was lots of browns and greens and kind of yellows. I'm going to use everything except for like the white parts. So I just went ahead and put my lights in there a little bit, put a little bit of potpourri down, and I'm just going to circle that around with the wire of the light. And then I thought these looked like they'd be fun for fall, the little vine balls from Dollar Tree. So I'm going to pop a couple of those in there to fill up our little fall basket. Again, wrapping the lights around them as I go. Kind of key that you keep wrapping as you add things so it will stay down the wire. And then we're going to add some of these acorns. These are the dark brown acorns. I really like the fact that they have lots of different colors to choose from in the acorns this year. So I pile like 4 in there. And again, just kind of pinching and working that in there. These baskets are pretty small. And so I'm trying to get the entire light pack in there. And I did bury the battery pack, but I did leave it towards the back where it is still accessible enough to turn it on and off. And then I just add more potpourri as I go and work those lights in there. I did want to add like a pumpkin too. I thought that would be cute just to give it one more fall touch. So I'm going to use one of the muted green pumpkins. I thought that would go really good with this color scheme and works great for more of a neutral fall. So I just pop the clip off the bottom and put that on the top of our pile here. I have a little bit of room left, so I just add a little bit more potpourri. It's really pretty to craft with, and it will even smell good. So win-win. And so this is just another way that you can light up a fall project. And I think it looks really pretty for fall. So this is the final result. I love these little baskets. They come in like square shape as well, and they also come in different colors. But I love the just regular like kind of straw color of these. I thought it would go great for a neutral fall color scheme. And I like the dark acorns in there as well. This is what it looks like lit up at night. Lots of ambience with this. And it is still possible to turn it on and off. You do just kind of have to feel through the potpourri that I put there in the basket. Again, day and night. A rope pumpkin, and I'm going to do it with some of the Dollar Tree rope. I think this is the 9.5 foot rope. It would work with any of the Dollar Tree rope, just whichever one you can find. This is kind of the skinnier one, I guess I would say. And what I'm going to do is coil it. So I'm going to end up using only 2 packages of the rope, made a pretty decent sized pumpkin. And what I'm trying to do is like the sections of the pumpkin, and then I want like the ends to come together in the same place, so I have them there together. And then I just kind of fan them out to see would this work. And you know, the Dollar Tree rope is just kind of floppy in general, so I didn't think that the pumpkin could stand up on its own. So to fix that, we're going to use some of the Dollar Tree wired jute. So I used 2 packages of rope, and I used 2 packages of the wired jute. What I found was the wire jute is a little bit shorter, like 2 feet shorter maybe, than the Dollar Tree rope. But I'm actually going to wind the rope around it a little bit, which uses a little bit more length, and so pretty even keel. So we're going to use 1 package of rope for each side of the pumpkin and 1 of the wire jute for each side. Now to keep it from kind of falling off at the beginning, I'm just going to take some Dollar Tree twine and tie it off just to make sure it stays in place while I wind it. what I'm doing is going the same direction as the rope, so it's not super obvious that I'm adding more rope to this by adding the wired jute to it. But what it's going to do is make me have this perfectly moldable rope that I can make take exactly the right shape that I want it to and make it stand up. So I wound the whole thing. This is how much rope I have left over. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim that part off. I want all of it to be wired. I also go back and twist it one more time just to make sure everything is connected and it doesn't separate into like two separate ropes. So this is what it looks like so far. And again, that was enough for half of my pumpkin. So we're going to do the same thing with the second rope. So 9.5 foot brown rope and one package of the wired jute. I love this wire jute when you don't have to cut it because then it all stays on the wire. If you worked with this before, you'll know if you cut it, it likes to try to come apart. So same thing, I just line them up again, tie them off. I really didn't have to tie off the other end when I get done, but this helps me because you're kind of tugging and pulling at it when you start winding it. And I'm not winding it like crazy amount, but I'm just winding it enough where it kind of blends into the rope. And then again, at the very end, I just cut off the excess. So we have them both wound. Now we can start forming the pumpkin. I'm going to do about the same thing that I was trying to do there initially, like by coiling them. And it's, whatever size loop you do is going to give you whatever size pumpkin you want. But I figured that I needed some kind of guide so I could make it symmetrical. I'm just going to use some painter's tape, something circular that I had handy that was about the perfect size. And I'm going to use that as a guide as I start to coil it. You can only go so far with it, but once you have it, you know kind of what size to do it. Just make sure you keep it all bundled together like this. Especially since it's wired, it's going to want to try to kind of go all over the place. And then again, I want the beginning and the end to both be together so that we can put that in the center of the pumpkin. Now to tie it off, you could use zip ties. I wanted something that would kind of blend into the natural rope. So again, I'm just using jute. I just make sure that none of my coils are super overlapped because that could cause problems. And then make sure that both ends are in there. And then I'm just going to tie this off. And I did leave the excess twine on there so that I can attach it to the other half of the pumpkin. And it's just a matter of molding it at this point since you have that wired jute on there. And there's a total of 6 sections on each half of the pumpkin. And so again, this worked pretty well using the painter's tape. So I'm going to do the same thing here with the other half by coiling it. And you know what? I absolutely love how this pumpkin turns out. It was just such a fun idea. I've made so many pumpkins here on my channel. And it just looks so nice. I love it. It really looks like the shape of a pumpkin when we're done. So again, 6 coils. I have the beginning and the end together. I'm kind of fanning it out, making sure that nothing is overlapped. That's going to make it easier when you go to put this pumpkin together. And again, we're just going to tie it off here with some Dollar Tree twine. I really hope you're enjoying my fall DIY videos. I did get started in July with them, so I do have quite a few of them out now. So if you've missed any, you might want to go back and catch some more. I love fall DIYs. I think it's everybody's kind of favorite time to create other than Christmas, I guess. So now that I have the excess twine on there, I can use it to tie them together. So I just tie it to the other bundle, and then this bundle, I'm going to do the same thing, kind of fish it through, tie it together. Just saves me a step of having to add more twine. And now you can kind of see the ends of the rope in there and where I tied them together. And since the pumpkin's going to be open, you'd be able to see that. So I am going to just kind of mask it with some more jute twine. I'm just going to tie some more off. You could also do this with your leftover rope from what you cut off. Just wrap it around. It would probably be a little bit easier, but it's going to be thicker. I kind of wanted mine to just kind of blend into the rope, make it not super obvious. And so I just cut a piece off and feed it through. I think I cut off a little bit more twine than I needed. It got a little bit easier once I shortened it because it wasn't going to take a lot to mask this. I just want to wrap it around, and that is going to be the core part of the pumpkin. I want to do this now before I open up the pumpkin because then it's kind of got a mind of its own. So at the end, I just tie it off again just to make sure that stays in place. And we have pretty much most of the pumpkin done. We do still have to add a pumpkin stem and a leaf, which we're also going to be using items from the Dollar Tree for. So this is the time to shape it out. So I found if you held it in the middle, you could kind of fan out one side like that. Some of them are going to want to like kind of cross over each other, you'll find. And so it's just a lot of messing with it and bending it because, of course, you have that wire jute on there. So it should keep whatever shape you decide. And you can make it kind of short and squatty. You could kind of stretch it out and make it like a taller pumpkin. It's pretty versatile. So that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and do a pumpkin stem. I'm going to be using one of these wood slices from the Dollar Tree. You could also use the wood stems or any kind of stick, honestly. And I wanted it to have a little bit of color, so I decided to stain mine with a little antique wax by Waverly, just to bring out that warm character and make it look fun for the pumpkin stem. And I tried to pick out one of the stems that kind of has some bumps on it, give it a little personality. And I'm going to put a little hot glue, push that down inside the core of our rope pumpkin. And you know what? You could also put stuff inside this if you wanted to like display leaves or any kind of thing that you wanted to like put inside of it. Since it's kind of hollow, you could put things inside of it. But I'm going to leave mine like that. I'm just going to add a few leaves. And I decided green. I'm just going to use some fall leaves. You could use really anything you want. Just a couple of leaves here on the top. Just some simple decor here for the top of the pumpkin. And I'm just attach them with a little bit of hot glue. And this is how my pumpkin turned out. Isn't it cute? Doesn't it like really look like a pumpkin? I love it. It was so much fun. And I think it's going to really go with any kind of fall decor that you might have in your home. It would go with traditional. It would go with coastal. It would go with neutral. All the ones that I've been doing so far here on my channel. But isn't that fun? So a Dollar Tree rope pumpkin. I had so much fun putting that one together. Okay, the next DIY, I want to make a stone tree for fall. So I got some stones from the Dollar Tree, some craft wood from the Dollar Tree, and a stick from my yard. And I am going to make a fall tree scene where the stones are actually the leaves. So these stones from the Dollar Tree, they were all kind of dusty. You couldn't really see the colors, and I thought they'd probably be nice colors, and they really are. They just need a little bit of cleaning. So I'm just going to wash them in some water here, and as you can see, there's all different colors of stones in there. If you had a way to polish them, they would be even prettier, but I think washing them is going to be enough for me. What I want is pebbles, all different colors, to represent the leaves changing colors on the tree because the rocks are actually going to be my leaves for my fall tree. So I just rinse them just in plain water, nothing fancy, just to get the dust off of them, exposing these pretty colors, and they are really shiny. And I think they look so much better, right? So I got a stick from my yard, which is kind of hard to find because I've made that joke before. We only have palm trees in our yard, so the only way I can find a stick is if it falls in our yard, like from a neighbor's tree. So I was lucky to find a stick there I'm going to use for the tree. And then I got 2 pieces of this craft wood from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to put them together and make a fun fall sign. I want to stain them, but I don't want it to be very dark. So I mixed antique wax by Waverly with water, so I can have a very thin stain so it will stain a lighter wood color so that that tree branch that I have there, that stick will be a little bit darker. You'll be able to see a contrast in colors. I didn't want this to be too dark. So mostly water with a little bit of antique wax by Waverly in there. And you can see that craft wood from the Dollar Tree has a great wood grain on there that looks great when you stain it. And I'm just going to kind of dry that off with a paper towel and see how that looks. It's looking pretty good. I really like kind of the pattern on there. I want it to look, you know, like a tree. And I kind of want to mix up the way the wood grain looks, and I think that looks pretty good. I realized you could also see like the sides of this, so I'm going to go ahead and stain the sides of the craft wood as well. These always come with a smooth side. That's the side I'm going to use for the top. The other side is a little bit rough. And then I did another coat of stain on the top piece because I didn't think it stained quite as dark as the other one did. And just to kind of even that out. Now to put them together, I'm just going to use a bead of hot glue to connect the two pieces of craft wood together to make a large sign that's going to be the perfect size for what we're going to do with the little stone tree. I do want to have a hanger on the back, and I have just an old sawtooth hanger I have left over from another Dollar Tree project, I'm sure. I take these off the canvases all the time if I'm not going to use the canvas. And I just kind of center it on the back of the board and just simply hammer it in. Those are my favorite kind, no nails or anything like that, so that I can hang this piece on the wall. Okay, it's looking good, so we can start constructing our tree. This is the only branch I could find. It's not exactly what I wanted because I wanted it to be flat, but I thought I could cut it apart and make it work. So I'm just going to cut that piece off. The bottom piece there can be the tree, and then these can be like the branches sticking out to the side like that. But again, I want it to be flat, so I'm going to kind of cut it apart in pieces and put it back together. Therefore, all of the stick will be like glued down to the sign and not like sticking out. And I also want it to fit. So I cut that little branch down that size to be the top of the tree. And then cut down another piece to be a side. And that one too. And then just kind of arranging what kind of looks better. That looks maybe a little bit more symmetrical with the larger one on that side. And then we can just start putting this together. This was so easy to do, and I had so much fun making it. I'm just going to use some hot glue to glue the top stick down. I'm going to glue it all close together so it looks like the branch is kind of all still connected, even though I did kind of cut it into pieces to make it all flat and make it all work. And I decided that was a little bit, it just wasn't laying right. So I went ahead and cut that part off of it too to make sure that it laid flat. Again, I don't want it sticking out 3D too much. And I do kind of want the tree to be centered here too. So I'm going to use my ruler to help me and just hot glue this piece down. And then we can go with the rest of the branches, kind of gluing them all in place. Really easy to do. You could use wood glue. I use Gorilla Glue hot glue, which works pretty well for wood. And I'm actually going to use that for the stones too. It's pretty strong. I think it's going to be strong enough for this. And I am kind of cutting the branches at an angle so they will fit tightly up against the tree. So you won't see like a gap in between once I glue them down. And then we are going to add all of those pebbles to the tree to look like fall leaves, like a tree that's like lost half of its leaves. We're even going to have like leaves on the ground. Just a fun rustic sign to represent fall. So I like that one there. That's kind of where it came out before. And then this one, maybe I'll put it down a little bit so it's not super symmetrical. And so we have our entire tree in place. And so far, 3 things from the Dollar Tree. The rocks, the 2 pieces of craft wood, and the stick, of course, is free from your yard. Now, if you wanted to do a coastal version of this, you probably could with some driftwood, but you would have to find some really kind of skinny driftwood for it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and start taking the stones and sorting them out. I want the colors to be different. I want them to be random, but I'm also looking for flat ones that are not broken, that will glue down well, like trying to put their flat side on the board so that I can glue it down. And I want them to look like leaves, like hanging off the tree. Not too full, but still relatively covered. And I really want to try to use as many colors as I can find. So I'm just laying them all out first until I'm happy with them, so I will know how I want to put it together. And I think that looks pretty good. Now, if you had some colored stones, like some more like orangish or yellow stones, and you didn't want to do the neutral color scheme, you could do that as well. That would look really cool too. And just using a dot of hot glue under each one of the stones, I did let them dry so that I could glue them down. I'm just gluing them kind of like they would be hanging off the tree branches, but not necessarily touching them, but kind of tilted away from the branch if I can do that. And kind of leaves for all of the branches. I think it's looking really cute so far. And I'm just going to clean up some of the hot glue there that might have strung from all of the gluing of the stones on there. Then I thought, well, if it's fall, the leaves are going to be falling, right? So I'm going to need like some stones here for the bottom that's going to look like leaves on the ground. But then I thought it would be even cuter to add like some of the brown floral moss from the Dollar Tree to look like the forest floor. And it's going to go with the neutral color scheme too because it's brown. So I just put hot glue down here on half of it and glued that to it just in little bundles. It's a little messy to work with, but if you don't make it too thick and you glue it down pretty securely, I don't think you really have to worry about it. And I just go all the way across to make it look like, you know, it's not just the pebbles down there, to really give you that illusion of like a forest floor. I'm just going to trim up any excess moss that might have been sticking out and clean up any extra moss that is on my sign here, and we can go ahead and attach the stones here to the bottom. Now, I was asking my son for help. I was like, should I have like leaves falling from the tree since it's supposed to represent fall? And we went back and forth, but I think we came to the determination that that would look cool to have like some leaves like currently falling off the tree since it is a fall sign. So I'm going to do 2 on each side, different colors and kind of different placements, very randomly, like they are falling through the sky. Just like that. And there it is, our little stone fall tree sign. I think it was so much fun to make, and it's really a unique piece for fall. And who knew that those Dollar Tree stones are so pretty? Once you wash them up, you can see they are all different colors and different types of rocks as well. I really like this project, and I think it is definitely one of my favorites that I made today. It was just so much fun to put together. Okay, for the next DIY, I wanted to do a fall candle. I'm going to be using a Dollar Tree candle holder and this beautiful green like candle holder on the top. I think these are going to be really good. For the brown, instead of using the paper bag on this one, I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree brown rope. I kind of tried it with the paper bag and I didn't really like it on this kind of surface. So I think that the brown rope is going to be perfect. So I just start here at the base. Doesn't really matter what color you're getting. I was looking for a round one, and I don't really mind that the top kind of has that mint green because it's going to match that candle holder that I'm going to put on top of it. But I'm going to cover the rest of it with hot glue. So I go all the way around with some hot glue right on the edge of it, and then just going to continue that all the way up. Now, the more hot glue you use, it's going to stay in place better. So I'm kind of doing like one section at a time and hot gluing that rope to it. Now, this is like the thinner rope from Dollar Tree. I almost had enough to cover the entire thing. I did fall a little bit short. I am hot gluing it, and then like right here, the little bumpy part in the middle, you're still going to get that great shape and everything if you follow that, and it's going to give you this really cool candlestick. So I continue that around, again, using hot glue as I go so everything kind of stays in place. And see, I told you I was just a little bit short with my first package of rope, but no big deal. I can just start a new package right here where I stopped. And my seam actually was on the back of it, well, the back where the seam where I started, so that will be easy to hide if you could see it. Kind of cutting it at an angle here for the very top. I go all the way up to the lip of the candle holder. And the rope looks pretty good. I am going to go ahead and just use my lighter to kind of burn off any fuzzies to really make it look a little bit more professional and cut off all of the fuzz that this kind of rope sometimes has. I want all my edges to be clean and everything to look nice and round. And isn't that a really pretty fall candle holder? I love it. The little splash of green with the candle holder I think is going to be really pretty. And I want to do some fall touches using acorns and corn. So for the acorns, these are just the little foam acorns from the Dollar Tree. I didn't want them to be kind of like brown on brown though, so I'm just painting mine ivory just for fun. I'm going to leave the caps themselves, but you know what? These actually look pretty cool when you paint them, but painting them like white over the dark brown, I did have to do like a total of 3 coats to get good coverage on those, but be careful when you're drying yours if you have like a heat gun because they are made out of foam and they will kind of melt on you. So I was trying to dry them sparingly. So they look pretty good. I'm just going to attach them with some Dollar Tree twine. I just cut a piece and wrap it around this top part of the candlestick and double knot that, leaving 2 pieces of twine hanging down that I can attach to the acorns. I just do some hot glue on the acorn stem, and then I am going to wrap that twine around, trying to get it to hang right about where I want it. And I think 2 of them is going to look really pretty. So I do the same thing here with our second acorn. And this time I add the glue to the twine itself and just kind of wrap that around the little acorn stem. And now they dangle down 2 little acorns on the front, really giving the fall effect of the candlestick. Isn't this so pretty? I'm loving the colors that I used today. They go great with my decor. Now this is the candle holder. It's kind of, they have these in like different colors. This one's kind of the greenish one. I'm going to attach it to make sure it stays in place with some hot glue on the candlestick and putting the candle holder right on top. I wanted this size candle holder so I could fill it up with some corn. I thought that'd be fun for fall. And since it's kind of tinted green, it's going to take away some of the yellow color from the corn. I'm just using some popcorn that I had. And I don't fill it up too full. I just do a little bed of corn and then using a Dollar Tree like little votive candle. I had like a vanilla one so it's not super colorful. I just nest that down inside the corn and we have a really beautiful fall candle holder. Isn't that so pretty? I really love those candle holders on top there with the different colors. They're so shiny and just a little bit of color. And the candlestick is really fun as well with the rope and the little white acorns. This is what it looks like lit up. I think it's super cozy.
Okay, next DIY, I picked up one of these little tinsel acorns at Dollar Tree. You guys know I love to remake the tinsel projects from Dollar Tree and make them look really nice. So that's what we're going to do with this one. First step is just to trim off all the tinsel. I like to just cut mine off right up the center and then it all easily comes off. You don't have to worry about anything else. Now this top piece was kind of sideways, it kind of threw me for a loop there, but same thing. Just trimming that all off. And when you are removing the tinsel from one of these projects, it is going to make a mess. As you can see, all the little tinsel stuff left behind. Gonna go ahead and cut off the hanger. Definitely don't want the yellow ribbon on there. And my trick to cleaning this up is just a Dollar Tree lint roller. Picks up that stuff perfectly. Now to cover this, I kind of wanted a seagrass look. So I'm going to use these little spring bags from the Dollar Tree. My Dollar Tree still have these. I like to pick them up. I craft with these all the time. I think they look great for coastal decor, but they also look great for neutral decor like this. The only thing is they have a little flower on them. You could also do this DIY with the Dollar Tree sun hat, but I'll show you why I chose the bag on this one. I just cut off the part with the flower, and I'm not really going to need most of the back on this one, and I'm definitely not going to need the bottom because I want it to kind of fit around the acorn just like this. And look how it's the perfect size to go with the creases on the side of the bag and everything. The only thing is it doesn't cover the entire acorn. I'm going to do something different for the acorn cap, but that's why I ended up having to use 2 bags because it wasn't quite big enough. I am going to trim off the excess fabric on the back. I just need enough that I can wrap it around the cage of it, and I'm leaving the little tabs on the sides because they're not really going to interfere. So to start with, I just kind of hot glue it to the cage up here at the top so it'll stay in place. Wrapping it around those little tabs on the side, and then I am just going to hot glue that like seagrass material onto the cage. It does kind of like to fall apart between the seams a little bit, but I thought it would be easier to work with it a whole piece at a time like this than to taking it apart and winding it. And so that looks pretty good. I am going to secure it here at the bottom. Now, when you start your next bag, you're not going to want to overlap too much. Otherwise, you're going to get a ridge. I was hoping I could use the back, but it was not quite wide enough, so that's okay. We will just use another one of these little Dollar Tree bags for this. And I'm just going to cut off the flower part this time because I don't really need that part. And then I'm just going to cut out a strip that's going to be big enough to go on the bottom of the acorn. I hope I get my acorns and pine cones right in this video because I called pine cones acorns in a video over and over when I was doing a voiceover this late at night, and I got called out for it a million times. I went in and tried to change it, and there's no changing it once it's up, but I did change the subtitles. So that's a fun fact. Now, I just glued that on, overlapping it. Again, you don't want to overlap it too thick. You just want to make sure that you can't see between the different layers. And then it's a little trickier to glue this part. You just want to glue it tight against the cage as you can get. And then you can always trim off the excess material. And, you know, the cage is kind of like a yellowish greenish color, but it's not visible or anything like that. I think it's a light enough color that you don't have to really worry about that because you can, of course, see through this material. And then I'm just going to do the same thing here on the other side. Hot gluing that down and trimming off the excess. Now that part of the acorn is complete, and I think it turned out really well. Now I want to stick with neutral colors and something fun for the acorn cap. Maybe not quite as detailed as the pine cone scales, but I thought Dollar Tree rope would work. So that's what we're going to use. I thought maybe the little tabs on the side of the pumpkin stem might get in the way, so I did trim those off. And I did end up kind of trimming the top ones. You'll see here in a minute. I kind of thought maybe you could see them. So again, I'm using the thinner Dollar Tree rope on this one. And I am just going to cut off one piece for each part of the acorn cap. It's actually kind of big and it like kind of goes up and curves over. So it was a little tricky doing this part, but I'll show you how I did it. So I just cut one of the ropes down to size. That's going to kind of overlap the sides of the acorn because of course I want that to stick out a little bit. And with the second row, I can do the same thing about the same size. But as you can see, once I get past there, I'm not going to be able to do them that wide. Otherwise, it's not going to fit in that part of the acorn cap. So I'm just going to have to make it shorter by making it shorter on both sides. So I just start where I think I need to and then glue that, cut this side shorter as well. So it'll kind of nest and fit in there. I'm going to repeat that here with this one, and I'm actually going to have room for like a third row before we finish this section of the acorn cap. And I'm going to leave that last section, the middle section between the two parts, for the end. That part right there. So I just start here on the back, and I just started gluing it to the tabs to try to cover those up. And again, I'm just going to go side to side. We'll also be covering the little hanger there so that we can make this little acorn a hanging sign too. And then I'm just going to keep gluing rope till we get to that center part. Now my camera does die here in a second, which means I've been crafting this project for 30 minutes. My camera dies at 30 minutes. And so that's kind of a time estimate of how long I spent on this. Now I got that all filled in, and then I went over that middle section with a piece of rope that stuck out a little bit more because it's kind of arched there at the top. And It's going to cover up all the plastic cage. And again, on this part, I didn't really have enough room, so I did have to start shortening them the higher that I went on here. But you could do the rope all the way around, but I think this way was actually easier. So that's where my camera died. You can see that I finished it up and I did the additional piece of rope on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and take some twine to make a new hanger while I can still get to that little hole in the acorn stem. And then we're just going to wrap that with rope too, just to stay consistent with texture and color on this. And I just do that by hot gluing that, and we're just going to wrap this. With the complicated shape of the acorn cap, I really think that you have to cut all the individual pieces down like I did, because I don't think wrapping it would really work. So we just wrap that all the way around and hot gluing that to itself. Now, I thought this looked really cool and very neutral, but I thought it also looked a little bit plain. So I'll show you how I fix that in here just a second. First thing, whenever I do a rope project, I love to burn the fuzzies off just to clean it up, get rid of any of the crazy strings that are like all around. Now, I thought you might be able to see the top of these little plastic pins that are sticking out. So I did trim mine off. I did try to cover that just to avoid having to do this, but I could still kind of get to them. So I'm just going to give them a quick trim just to make sure that you can't see anything hanging out at the top. So that's what it looks like plain. I love the colors. I love the different textures. But again, I thought it was a little plain. I thought it needed a word. So these are the little leather fall words from the Dollar Tree. This one says blessed. And so I'm just going to hot glue that right to the front. And the colors work well together. It was really easy to attach to that. And I think that was the perfect final step for this little acorn DIY. And definitely a very neutral color scheme. And I think it turned out really beautiful. This is how it turned out. I am glad that I decided to use the rope for the acorn cap. I think that worked well. And I really love the little purse from the Dollar Tree for the texture there on the acorn.
You could also use the hat, but you would probably have to take it apart row by row to do it that way. Okay, the next DIY, I picked up a galvanized metal fall planter from the Dollar Tree, and I thought we would do a fall floral display. Now, they try to distress them with like some kind of a white paint, but I don't really like the way that they do that at Dollar Tree. So I'm just using some fingernail polish remover and cleaning up this pot. It is a fall sign, so it does have fall words on it. I do like it being metal, and I'm going to kind of go with that, but I want to age it. So I just cleaned it up, removed the tag, and I'm going to use paint distressing on the metal. I know that you can spray like vinegar on these, and I think it will like literally eat the pot a little bit to make it look worn and rusted like an old farmhouse pot. But I didn't really have the time for that. And so I'm going to try to age it with paint. So I just use a paper towel. I just fold it up into fourths. And this metal, it's called silver metallic acrylic paint. I get this at Dollar General. And I am just sponging it all over. So I just get a little bit of paint on the paper towel and I just sponge it. Kind of like a sponge painting. But since the paper towel is dry and not a sponge, it's gonna leave more paint. So it provided a nice like little mottled texture all over for my first coat to kind of age this. I wasn't sure how to do it. I've never aged one of these Dollar Tree pots before like this. I want it to look old and rusty. And so for the next coat, I'm going to use this color of acrylic. It is burnt umber, I think it is. And it's just a brown paint. I think you could probably also use Antique Wax by Waverly if you wanted to. And again, I just take a little slice of paper towel, fold it into fourths, and just start sponging it on. I wasn't too sure at first because maybe I had too much paint on there because it was a little globby. I kind of wanted to be like kind of speckled all over, but I did learn the technique a little bit there, but I may have a little bit too much paint here on first, so I just went back over it with a dry paper towel to kind of take off some of the excess paint, make it look a little bit more random. I like that better. So I think I've learned how to do it a little bit better. So less paint is more kind of with this. And then just kind of sponge it all over. If you get too much on there, you can always go back and wipe some of it off. And if you have a disaster, the paint, as long as it's, new on there, you're going to be able to wash it off with like just water or baby wipe or whatever. Don't be afraid to go for it. I just kind of went all over with this and made it look old and rusty. I was going for that farmhouse charm on here. So it's definitely looking old and rusty, but then I was thinking maybe it's a little bit too rusty. So I'm going to go over it some more with that silver metallic. I'm thinking you could probably use like gray acrylic too if you don't have a metallic. It's going to give you that same kind of like old pot feel. You don't want it to be super shiny, but I did like having the metallic because I felt like it did give me a little bit of shine peeking through all of that distressing. If you guys have ever aged a pot with paint, you'll have to let me know in the comments below how you did it. But I was pretty happy for my first time with how this turned out. It definitely made it look like an old pot. Now, it does have words on here, but they're kind of hard to read. So I'm going to go over them with a paint pen, just a white Posca paint pen, and kind of draw them back on. They are raised, but not like a super amount, but enough to be able to paint them easily with a paint pen. So this pot says Harvest Blessings. I don't want it to be really stark white paint against that old rusty pot. That really wouldn't make sense. So once I get it on here, I do kind of weather it a little bit so it's not so bright. But I wanted to give at least a start of white to these letters just to make it kind of stand out a little bit more. Now I wanted to stress it, but I don't want to like really damage the pot at all, and I don't really want to scratch it. So I very lightly sand that paint down with a sanding sponge, trying not to scratch my pot because I really don't want it looking all scratched. I want it to just kind of look rusty, if that makes sense. But I think that looks pretty good. It looks old. Let's go ahead and fill it up with some fall florals. Now it is pretty large, so I went ahead and used 3 of those little foam blocks from the Dollar Tree. And I'm also going to use some floral moss. You guys are going to have to let me know in the comments. Have you guys been able to find reindeer moss or Spanish moss or any of those kind of mosses at your Dollar Trees lately? Because mine only has this brown floral moss. It's not my favorite. For fall it works, but I don't know why they don't have it. I did look on their website and I could order a case, but you have to order 36. And a lot of people are getting brown reindeer moss. So I'm like, that's not going to help me at all. I don't know why I'm having such trouble finding it. Hopefully they get it together before Christmas because I use it a lot for Christmas crafting. Now, these are the florals we're going to use. They're fall florals. They are mums and ivory. Nice neutral color. I'm just using some wire cutters to cut these all off. I just got those wire cutters the other day from, oh my goodness, was it Lowe's or Home Depot? I think it was Lowe's, and they work pretty good. I just wanted just some plain wire cutters because my Dollar Tree floral scissors just don't seem to be cutting the wire very well anymore. Now I'm also ironing these mums with my heat gun. If you have any smashed flowers and you want them to be big and bold like this, the heat gun or like a hair dryer works fabulous for that. So I used to use a hair dryer when I first started, but those little heat guns are only like $10. I have mine linked in my Amazon shop in the description of this video. They are like so worth it. I use it all the time. But I'm going to go ahead and use 2 bundles of the mums. And I want them to be arranged just like I want them. So I'm cutting them all down. I want it to be big and bold, full of mums. And I think these mums from the Dollar Tree are really pretty. I'm just leaving the leaves on them, but I kind of fill the pot so much that you can't really see them anymore. And so I am going to add some more greenery just to kind of bring some more color into that as well. This is the greenery that we're going to use. This is also with the fall florals. It's called eucalyptus. I think it has maybe some other names too. And I am just going to cut down sprigs of this and kind of put it in there just for some leaves, just because I was kind of disappointed that you couldn't really see any of the leaves from the mums. And it's probably because I packed these in here. And I think it's going to look really cute. Just mums and pumpkins is what I was going to go with for this one. Very fall. At first, I was going to do some burlap pumpkins, but they ended up being way too big. So what I'm going to use is some of the pumpkin clips, and we're just going to make our own picks by using some of the skewers from the food section at the Dollar Tree. This is the color I chose. They're called muted orange, and I wanted orange. I didn't know if I really wanted a lot of color with this one. And so you do have to be really careful taking these little clips off the bottom. It's kind of impossible, I think, without damaging them. But you know what? I don't think you're going to be able to see the bottom of them, so I think that's okay. So I think that the skewers are going to be a little bit taller than I want, so I'm just going to cut those down. They're kind of hard to cut with scissors. They're almost easier to snap with your fingers. And leaving the pointy end down, I just go ahead and put those into my pumpkins. That way it's easier to poke these down inside all that floral foam we have inside. And just arrange them. I like 3. 3 is an odd number, so that's going to look good in there. And I kind of have like the one in front the lowest and kind of working up back like that for the front for tallest. But I thought I needed a little bit more height with my arrangement. So I'm also going to add some Dollar Tree willow. These are fall colors. They have these in fall colors, like browns and reds and oranges, I think. This is the brown one. And so I'm cutting them off. I'm also cutting like the first branch of them off so they have more of a pick on them that I can put down into the floral foam. And it's a little bit of brown color added to it. A pretty muted display with like the ivory mums and the muted color pumpkins. But it gave me the perfect amount of height, so I think these were a good addition. I'm just going to go ahead and use the whole package. I might as well. And kind of just stagger those all over. And we have our fall florals. Really cute, rustic, farmhouse kind of vibe. And really fun to put together. I always love crafting with florals, and I used to not really enjoy it because Dollar Tree's florals were very low quality, but I have found since the price increased to $1.25 that my florals at my store have gotten so much better. But here it is, our little pot of mums with pumpkins in a pot.
Okay, nothing says fall like a cozy candle, so we're going to make a really easy fall candle using a Dollar Tree candle and candle holder. I thought we could use some of the faux leather from the Dollar Tree. I thought that would give us a fun, kind of like neutral color scheme for this, but we can make it look really fun. Now, the candle that I got is vanilla scented, so a scented candle for fall is perfect. I do need to figure out how big of a strap I need just to make a little sleeve for our candle holder. So I'm actually just going to use my candle holder itself to kind of figure that out. And then I'll just need a straight edge here. I can kind of draw on the back of this faux leather. And I don't craft with this stuff from the Dollar Tree very much, but I've been crafting with it more lately. I really love how easy it is to cut, and it has a great texture on it, so I probably should use it more often. It comes in lots of different colors too. I think I have navy, brown, black, and this like ivory color. Now I thought this would be the perfect application for one of these little leather tags to decorate the candle. This one says harvest, and I can attach that to the front of that. So just making sure that is going to be long enough, the little strap to go across, and I'm just going to hot glue this down. Now the leather to the leather was a little hard with hot glue. I don't know, maybe I should have used a different kind of glue because I did have to glue that down several times. I also didn't really like the fact that the pumpkin stem had a hole in it from the little tag part, so I didn't glue that part down, so I can kind of just snip that off. I kind of like it without one rather than to have a hole in it. And as you can see, it's staying down, but like the edges kind of kept wanting to lift up. And I did have to glue them down a couple times, but in the end, I did get it to stay. And it kind of makes it worse that I'm kind of sloping it around that round surface, but it did work in the end. So I'm just gluing my ends down one more time, trying to make sure that they go all the way to the edges. And then we can just put this like little wrap around the candle holder. What an easy way to decorate a Dollar Tree candle. So I just put some hot glue down and hot glue the vinyl down, wrap it around. I think that those little tags are just the perfect size for a candle this size. I'm going to trim that down and hot glue that to itself right there on the back. Now, as you can see, the edges lifted up again. That's what I was talking about. I don't know if I should have used a different kind of glue, but in the end, I used hot glue again. This time I held it down while it was bent and until it dried. And in the end, it did stay down, but it was challenging. It was fighting me there for a little bit. But I love the colors of that. I think that's going to look perfect with a little ivory colored candle right inside. And I don't think it needs anything else. I was just making sure that my pumpkin was not going to pop off again. And, you know, this should be fine to burn. Really nothing I think is going to be flammable. And so this is going to be a fun little candle for fall. So easy to put together. Just pop the candle right inside. And there it is, our little harvest pumpkin candle for fall. Super cozy. And I love the colors together. This is how it looks. I haven't lit it yet because it is so hot outside. It was 110 degrees in my car today. Oh my goodness. Fall sounds heavenly, doesn't it? And this is how it looks from a distance. I think it's really sweet. What do you think?
Okay, for the next DIY, we're doing one of the large pumpkin wreath forms from Dollar Tree. And I want to cover it with some of their lamb's ear. They have this beautiful lamb's ear at the Dollar Tree. I have lots of left over from like tier trays and stuff like that where I've actually cut it down to size. So I have tons of leaves and you know what? They pull right off, which makes them really fun for crafting. I've seen these pumpkin wreath forms done a million ways, but I've never seen them covered with like plants, like a wreath. So I wanted to see if I could pull it off just using the petals of the lamb's ear. I'm just attaching it with some hot glue, kind of overlapping the bottom a little bit on my first wire, and then I'm going to just kind of have them like kind of tumbling down. So I want them all like kind of tilting an opposite direction like that, but slightly overlapping the leaf below them. And this was actually a really easy way to cover one of these wreath forms. I'd kind of looked to see if anybody else had done it like this or used any greenery at all on these, but everybody almost always uses fabrics or ribbons, and I've made a ton of things. I've used wood beads, but you know what? I really like the look of the lamb's ear. I'm a huge fan of this. Now, some of the pieces are like 2 leaves or 3 leaves, which are a little smaller. And if they're bent up, you can always iron them with your heat gun. I'm going to try to use some of the bigger leaves for most of these parts. I can save some of the smaller ones to go around the border of the pumpkin, where I have to kind of go in between the different wired sections. That would work really well. And I want it to be really random. I don't want it to be symmetrical at all with like the one next to it. Just kind of whatever works, and just attaching it with hot glue. Now, I am going to be using this wreath form indoors. I don't know how well the hot glue would hold up outdoors if you were going to have some weather or some heat. So keep that in mind. If you're going to recreate, I'm definitely making this one for indoors. And you'll see, because we're going to be adding so many fun things to this, that I don't think it would really hold up too well outside. But I guess if you have a covered porch, it probably wouldn't be too bad. So we have the 3 wires on the left covered with leaves, and now all we have to do is do the same thing over here. Whenever I see the Dollar Tree lamb's ear, they have it in the large ones and kind of the shorter ones. I always try to pick it up. I just think it's so beautiful. I used to have to get this at Walmart, so I was really excited to see that Dollar Tree carries it now. I do mix a few small leaves in here and there where I can. Just what's ever going to work to make it fit to go all the way down the pumpkin stem. And as you can see, it's already looking really pretty here with each one of these wires with cascading leaves going all the way down. So all of the middle wires or sections, I guess, of the pumpkin are covered with leaves. So now we can do the border of the pumpkin too. So again, I'm going to cut down all of the small leaves because I think those might come in handy on this part. I noticed the small ones aren't quite as easy to glue down, but I was able to get them. But see how some of the smaller ones work really perfectly in between some of the wire pieces there? I want to cover up all of the wire. I don't want you to be able to see any of that. And the leaves do a great job. At first, I was going to leave these like kind of in bundles and attach them going all the way up, but I thought it would be too full. I really like the idea of just using individual leaves. I think it turned out perfect for this pumpkin wreath form. So again, just doing the border, I go here on the left side and cover it completely. It's kind of a larger side, so I can use some of the larger leaves, kind of mixed together with some smaller ones, just for some variety. And I'm going to cover everything except for the wire for the pumpkin stem. I do have another idea for that part. And see, the construction on this was actually pretty fast. A lot of times, like when you're weaving in and out, when you're stringing beads and stuff like that, this pumpkin wreath form can be really time consuming because it's so large. But I love the way this one turned out. It just turned out, it's like such a work of art. Big fan. Definitely going to have to keep this one. And then for the pumpkin stem, I thought rope would be good, but all I have is this thin rope from the Dollar Tree. But I think if I use enough of it, I can kind of make a big, gnarly pumpkin stem and kind of make it look 3D. So I'm going to start with the bottom layer just by cutting a piece the length that I want, using that as a template and cutting more. It's going to take like 4 or 5 at least, maybe even 6 to cover this pumpkin stem. I start gluing it here on the stem on the right. Kind of gives me something to glue to, and then I do it on the left. Now the rest of the pumpkin stem, I'm going to have to glue it to the rope next to it because I really don't have anything else to glue to besides the top and the bottom of that. But no big deal, it glues together really well. I'm trying to make all of my curves all go to the right because I want my pumpkin stem to like kind of veer that way and to be larger than the pumpkin stem on the wreath form. You can even kind of unravel the rope at the end to kind of make it look more ragged, more like a pumpkin. And then I'm going to go in with another layer, just 3 here in the middle to kind of get more of a 3D vibe going on this one. And we're actually going to add more to that once I decorate the top of this. But for now, I think that's looking pretty good. I think it just needed something a little bit different for the pumpkin stem than the lamb's ear leaves. Now for the back of it, I'm going to cover it with some burlap. Now normally I would not do this, but I want to fill it with pumpkins. So I needed something to attach them to and I needed a background. So I got some burlap from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to give it a quick iron because as you can see the way they package it, it's all rolled up. You're definitely going to need to iron it so that you can work with it. And I'm just going to use my Cricut Easy Press for that. That looks way better. I'm going to leave it all one piece and cut it later. I just need to attach it to the back to give a back to our pumpkin wreath. And I think the burlap's going to go with like kind of the brown colors that we're using today. It's not going to really stand out much. It's going to go great with the color scheme. So I just start here on the top, add hot glue to that metal wreath form and attach my burlap. And I'm just going to go around working one section at a time and trying to pull it taut as I go. So it's more of like a background and it's the very back. So it's going to be against the wall, not against the inside of the pumpkin. So again, I just do one section at a time and I try to hot glue all of it down. That way I can just go around and cut it once it starts to dry up, which is now. I'm cutting it as close as I can to the metal wreath form. The great thing about the leaves being there is they are going to hide any of the burlap that normally you would be able to see. So it kind of masks that. So again, I just go around and just cut it as close as I can get to the hot glue. The hot glue is going to seal the burlap edge and make it not ravel out as well. And again, just being really careful that I don't cut any of the leaves by mistake. And we have a back to our pumpkin wreath form now. I am loving it. I love the colors. They work so well together. And I want to like use it like a cage and fill it up with some pumpkins. So I grabbed as many of these sweater pumpkins that I could find in ivory at my store. I think I counted, I had a total of 17. And they come 3 to a package. You could always use larger ones. I really loved the texture of the sweater pumpkins though. So that's why I wanted this one. So I'm going to use every one I have. I just use heat to get the metal clip off the bottom. And then I'm going to hot glue them to the burlap back. You can also glue them to the leaves too, just wherever you need to glue them to make them stay in place. I did notice the little metal clips get really hot if you use your heat gun to melt them off. So be super careful with that. I got to where I wasn't really even touching the clips. I was just kind of prying them off. But there's no like stick or anything on the bottom of those. They're just attached with like probably a hot glue. So they're really easy to melt off like that. And you can kind of remove any of the excess glue if it bothers you, but most of it you won't be able to see on these. And I'm just filling up the very bottom of the pumpkin, hot gluing these all next to each other, kind of like one in each one of the pumpkin sections. And I'm going to keep working with these until I run out. I just want it to be like a third full of pumpkins. I thought that'd be really fun. I thought about making them like go higher on one side to make it kind of asymmetrical, but I wanted to hang even, so I thought I would do a more balanced pile. So this is my second row. I'm kind of gluing them in between the pumpkins underneath of them, so they will kind of nestle in between the pumpkin stems, and I'm gluing them all on their side like that, so they're all like pumpkin stem up, basically, and doing a second row there. Now for the third row, I'm not going to do as many because I'm going to start running out of pumpkins, and I do want to do like a second level on some of those. So I have enough to do like 3 here. I'm going to kind of do them more in the middle of my pumpkin pile like that. And then to finish it up, I have 3 more, and I'm just going to glue those to the other pumpkins, piling them on top. This one goes almost to the top of the pumpkin, just to give it some more interest, make it look like a big pile of pumpkins inside of my pumpkin wreath. I love the neutral color of the white sweater. I think that looks really pretty. And just getting rid of any like hot glue strings that might have accumulated in the process. And again, I counted, it ended up being a total of 17 of these I had. But I love them. I think they're so cute. Now, I think that looks pretty good, but we do need to kind of make a hanger for this one. But I thought I could use the original metal one, but since I kind of hot glued the rope on there, it is not super accessible anymore. So I'm just going to loop and knot just some Dollar Tree twine, and I'm going to glue that to the burlap and the rope here on the back to make kind of a hidden hanger that I can hang this on my wall. Now for the top, I did not want to do a bow. I wanted something a little bit more natural, so I'm going to use some of these beautiful like silver dollars from the fall section at Dollar Tree. I love the neutral color of these, and they pull right off. So I'm going to go ahead and pull them all off. And there is a total of 5. I'm going to go ahead and use them all, and I'm going to attach them to the pumpkin stem like this, where they'll kind of come down. I can have some of them inside the pumpkin, some of them outside. I just hot glue that to the rope pumpkin stem, which we're going to add more rope to, which is going to hide those plastic stems, no problem. So I do another one for this kind of section right here by kind of gluing that upside down on that pumpkin, and then again one for this section, and then the other sections toward the side are a little bit further out, but I'm going to still try to attach some here, and I'll kind of arrange them however I think they look better. I just think that the fall florals look prettier than a bow, and I didn't really want to take away from the beautiful elements going on, so I think that looks good. Now to hide the plastic stems that I just glued on, and to make the pumpkin stem even thicker, I'm adding some more of that Dollar Tree rope, still on the same package, and just cutting strips to kind of go with what I had before, but again, kind of sandwiching in the plastic from the florals that we added there to the top. I'm going to do a total of 4 here. I think that's going to be plenty. And again, you can kind of unwind the tops or even the bottoms to kind of make them look more gnarly, like a pumpkin stem. I think that looks pretty good. It's going to help secure and hold all of those florals in place. And I like some of them kind of dangling down inside like that. And this is how it turned out, our pumpkin wreath DIY. I love it. Definitely the most interesting one I think I've ever made. I've made so many of these on my channel, the pumpkin wreath forms. I always have to grab one every year because I always want to try something new. And I really love how this one turned out. What do you guys think about my pumpkin wreath? Now for the next DIY, we're going to make a fall floral using some of these beautiful eucalyptus that they got in Dollar Tree this year. I picked up 3 of them. And I'm using a glass bottle that I have from the Dollar Tree and some rope. I'm going to do the rope around the glass bottle to make a really neutral vase, a rope vase that we can decorate for fall. So the glass bottle is one of the ones from the Dollar Tree that had the little cork lights in it that I've used for other projects. So I have some of these glass bottles left over, and it's just about the right size. But you can use whatever kind of bottle or vase that you have. I like the fact that it's nice and fairly small, like diameter-wise. And I just take Dollar Tree rope. I just started hot gluing it right around the bottom. And once I wrapped it around, I just keep going. I'm going to have where I start and stop on the back of the vase. And so I'm going to try to keep any seams or anything like that back there. Now, normally I would just wrap a rope project with rope and I wouldn't bother gluing it. But since this is a glass vase, it's going to be standing up. I want to make sure that all of the rope is attached to it tightly. And so I just glue half of it and then go flip it over, glue the other half of it. Not every part of it has to be glued down, but I did want it to be glued down like twice per row. And this is the thinner brown rope at the Dollar Tree. I think it's pretty long. I think it's 13 feet, but I could be mistaken on that. But one package definitely went really far. I ended up having to use a total of 2 packages to make this. But I think the color of the rope is going to look really nicely with those eucalyptus. They have those in like the yellow, orange, lots of colors. I did a fall and Halloween Dollar Tree shopping haul on my video the other day. And you can see on there how many wonderful fall florals they have this year. So I made sure to stop it in the same place I started it so I can have my seam on the back. And I'm just starting my second package of rope. And I'm going to continue hot gluing it on here all the way to the very top. I want all of it covered. And then I want to use one of those leather fall tags from the Dollar Tree to decorate the vase as well for a fun fall decoration. And then we're going to fill them up with those beautiful like yellowish eucalyptus. I'm including them in the neutral colors because the color is nice and mild, nothing crazy, definitely goes with neutral decor. Once I get up here to the top, you can start going a little bit faster if you put more glue on there and wrap quickly while your hot glue is still wet. Again, I want the seam to be on the back where I've had all of my other seams, so I make sure to cut it right there and glue that down in place. Now, I did use a lot of hot glue on that, so I'm going to have to clean that up a little bit to make sure that you can't see any. I also want to burn off any fuzzies from that Dollar Tree rope. So I just make sure everything is good and tight. You don't see any of the glass between the ropes. And burning off all of the fuzzies with a lighter is super easy to do. It's going to make your project look a little bit more professional. But to get the hot glue off, I find that my heat gun works the best for that. And I'm just going around and cleaning up any hot glue that you can see and kind of making it kind of disappear into the rope. For the fall tag, I'm going to choose this one with a pumpkin on there. And I'm going to hang it around the bottle kind of like that. It says harvest on it. I think that's going to be really cool. I do want it to be a little bit shorter. So I'm just going to untie it, tie it a little bit tighter so it'll hang exactly where I want it. And I kind of liked having the leather strap be kind of inside out. It just provided another shade of brown. I'm going to cut off the excess leather there. And then I do want to attach it here so it's not just hanging like that. And I wanted to take the shape of the vase. So I just put a little bit of hot glue on the back, and I'm going to glue that faux leather down to the rope. And there is our vase. Super cute, very neutral. Now we can fill it up with these eucalyptus. I really don't have to put anything in there. These are nice stems. They're nice and tall. So all I have to do is remove the tags on these and load up our vase. They're actually pretty high quality. I think Dollar Tree just keeps getting better greenery in. From when I started my channel till now, I'm just really impressed with how much better they all look. I probably could have got away with 2, but since I had 3, I'm going to go ahead and use 3, make it really full. If you have any leaves that are bent, heat gun is great for ironing those out really easily. And how easy was that to put together? It was really fun. Neutral fall colors with the yellow eucalyptus, the brown rope, and then we also have like the brown leather pumpkin there on the front. Really cute for fall decor, and I really love this. I think it's so pretty, and as you can see, it's pretty large. Okay, the next Dollar Tree DIY, I picked up one of these acorns from the Dollar Tree Plus, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove the leaves that were on there. I want to kind of change up the color scheme on this one, make it more neutral fall. So I'm just going to snip off those leaves. I will use those on another project today. And then basically I wanted the acorn. They were wired on there pretty good though, but cutting the leaves off did make it easier to get it off, because I went to three Dollar Trees looking for pine cones, and nobody has any, and I really wanted the pine cone for this project. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that from the berries. I can save the berries and leaves, but I definitely want the little pine cone for this DIY. Now, since it's got a hole in the bottom and it's open inside, I thought it'd be great to light it up with some of these fairy garden lights that I found at Dollar Tree. There are 10 little LED white lights on these, and they're great because they're battery operated, so you're going to be able to use those inside your house. So basically, you just have to untangle the string. I think this is going to be enough lights to fill up the inside of that acorn, even though it's kind of big. I did a coastal DIY with the pumpkin that's just like that from the Dollar Tree Plus, and it turned out so cute too. It was so easy. So I just popped in 2 AA batteries. That's what the fairy garden lights take. And then I'm going to use some of the ivory sweater pumpkins and some of the burlap pumpkin clips to put on the inside. I wish they sold these without the little clips attached. If you do remove them with heat, they do come off a little bit easier, but sometimes, like the burlap ones, came off without any heat. I chose 3 of the ivory sweater ones and 2 of the burlap ones. Now I'm going to go ahead and just start coiling my lights and filling up that space. And one reason I wanted to put the pumpkins inside is not only for decor, but they're also going to hide the battery pack for these fairy lights. So I thought 2 different colors would look good, and it's all going to look very neutral fall. So I'm just going to go ahead and place them in there, trying to place them where I think they're going to land when I turn it upside down. And you can kind of wedge this in there, but for it to lay flat, you kind of need to kind of pop it all the way in there. But I wanted to leave it where it was accessible so I can turn the lights on and off on this one. I didn't really like that all of my ivory pumpkins went to one side and all of my burlap pumpkins went to the other side. So I'm going to put them back in there and see if they will lay better at this time. And the battery pack, it's kind of a wire structure, so you can kind of wedge it in there. And I think that looks way better. Now for the greenery, I do just want to use a little bit of lamb's ear. So I'm going to take the piece here on the top that has the 3 small leaves. I think that's going to look really cute for a little acorn leaf here. And you can kind of just work it in between the caning. It's tight enough to hold it on there without having to hot glue it. And then I'm going to take that pine cone wire and just hook that back on there. I just like the simpler decor on this compared to the fall leaves and stuff that were on there before. Quick and easy. This is how it turned out. This is what it looks like during the day. Our little acorn, it's so cute. It's kind of similar to an acorn basket that I got at Dollar Tree last year. That's actually a functional basket. And look how pretty it looks lit up at night. With the caning on there, it gives it just a great design, a light design all around it. Really pretty, and I am super glad I grabbed those. So if you're at a Dollar Tree Plus, you might want to try to check one of these out. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to do a pumpkin DIY. I picked up an oval wood sign from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree and one of their wood pumpkins that they have every year. It's kind of a nice large size pumpkin, and I think it's going to be really cute for this project. It did have a little bit of splinters here and there, so I'm just going to go ahead and give my pumpkin a quick sanding. Now I want to use that book that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I am just going to do some book pages. So I'm looking for some good pages to use for this, kind of seeing what words are written on in them. And I want to do 3 different sections of pumpkin. I want 2 of them to be book pages and 1 section of the pumpkin to be the paper bag. So I'm going to do the 2 outer sections as book pages like that. Attaching them, I'm going to go ahead and age them as well. Like I did before, I really think I like that look. So just again, antique wax by Waverly mixed with water. I think brown acrylic paint would probably give you kind of the same effect. Or again, you could stain with like tea or coffee as well. I go over it with a foam brush, kind of patting off the excess. Did get a little bit of wrinkling on this one, but that's okay. I kind of like that effect. Makes it look older. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the page for the other side. I'm just leaving them as whole sheets at this time, and I can always cut off the excess later. I just need to go ahead and start the drying process on these because, again, they are super wet. That was mostly water and just a little bit of antique wax by Waverly. But my heat gun works really well for this and dries these in no time. And as you can see, as it dries, the stain does get a little bit lighter, but it definitely looks aged and exactly what I was going for. So time to attach these to the 2 sections of the pumpkin, the 2 outer sections. And then we'll use that oval for the middle section of the pumpkin. It's going to make it kind of pop out a little bit, make it more 3D. I covered the left side of the pumpkin with a nice thin layer of Mod Podge and lay the book page on there, trying to give it, kind of get it level if I can, and smooth that out with my hands dry to make sure that I don't tear any of the paper as I do that. We're going to do the same thing here on the other side. I was trying to cut off the title and stuff as much as I can and just get the words on there. And I don't really care about the middle section because it's going to be covered up with the wood sign that you see there. And so I want to make sure that it is glued down really well though on all the edges of the pumpkin. And if you kind of go around that, you can see how it'll kind of crease already. I gave it a quick dry with my heat gun, and then I'm going to go in and just use a sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree to give me that perfect cut for the pumpkin shape. You do have to make sure it's dry for this part so you don't tear any paper that you don't intend to. But as you can see, it does a great job of cutting it down to the perfect pumpkin size. Right here under the stem was a little tricky because I couldn't get my sanding sponge in there. But same thing here on the other side. I just sand it all the way around to cut off my excess paper. Again, I don't care about the middle section of the pumpkin because we're going to be using that wood oval there for the center section, like that. Now, I want to DIY that part of the pumpkin as well. I also want to do something about the pumpkin stem. I thought twine would be really good and go with everything, be really easy to do. So I just started on the back of the pumpkin stem with a little bit of hot glue until I can start wrapping it. It is some kind of like strange angles that you have to wind it, but you can always go back and kind of wrap it again to fill up any gaps that might be missing. And I wanted to leave the existing hanger on there if I could, so I'm trying to like wrap it and kind of work around it. I want it to still hang level if at all possible, but I kind of go in and out of that one as well to kind of, make it stay in place. And then towards the tip, you're going to have to use some hot glue to make it stay in place. And then I just glue it to itself to completely cover the wooden end of the pumpkin stem. I'm just doing that shape. I'm not going to add any more to it. I think that's fine. And it doesn't really get in the way of this little bump out part that I want to use here for this section of the pumpkin. Now for that section, I want to do the paper bag technique on that one. So again, I'm just going to take a couple of the lunch bags from the Dollar Tree and cut some strips, like 1.5 inches. I just go ahead and crinkle it up. I'm actually kind of like wadding this up. I notice the more that you crinkle it or wad it up like that, the easier it is to work with. I start here on the outer edge of the oval, and again, hot gluing that down, making it like fold and bend and do kind of like whatever direction it kind of wants to do. And what I'm going to do is kind of like spiral this around. So where one stops, I can start a new one. And it's so forgiving because of the random nature of it that you can't really see where you start and stop. And then I'm just going to keep going, kind of spiraling it. Since it is like a round shape, it's really easy to kind of just loop it like you would do with like rope or something like that. So again, just a lot of crinkling and twisting that and then hot gluing it down. But I think this is going to give it a really interesting texture. I think it's going to look really pretty against the book pages of the pumpkin. And this coordinates really well with the paper bag and book page Acorn DIY. So again, it's super forgiving. I'm trying to make sure I cover all of the wood. If you find there's like any little gaps peeking out, you can always tear off a piece of the paper bag and go in and patch it. Super easy. You're not going to be able to see where you start and stop. I just need a small piece here for the very middle. And I try to clean up any hot glue that might be visible. And then again, I'm just going to go in, rip off some little pieces of paper and patch any areas where I can see through it a little bit. That looks pretty good. It really has the oval shape that I wanted, but I think I can trim it up a little bit just to make it even better. I don't really want to take away any of the folds or anything like that, but I do want it to have the oval shape. So this is going to go on the front part of the pumpkin. It's going to give it a lot of texture and depth. And I just use hot glue to attach that to my sign, kind of doing hot glue all over. And this makes the perfect middle section here for our pumpkin. Now we have like the browns, the natural colors on this one. I did want to add a few leaves to it. And so I'm going to use a combination of the lamb's ear and the Dollar Tree burlap leaves. Now this is way too big. So what I'm going to do is just pop the wire off the back, and it's just going to give me the fabric that I can cut down. And it doesn't have to be a fall leaf shape. I'm actually going to cut it to be more of a traditional leaf shape, kind of to go a little bit more with the lamb's ear. So I just cut it down to like whatever scale I want, a little oval, and then kind of cut it with some pointier ends to give it that leaf feel. I think that's going to go great with the different browns. And then for the touch of green on this one, we're going to use a lamb's ear. I wanted to add maybe 2 of the green leaves and 1 of the burlap. So I went ahead and cut like the 2 that were attached together. I'm going to glue 1 right here on top of the pumpkin stem. And I can cover that up with the burlap leaf as well, so you won't be able to see the stem. I'm going to have that one kind of point up, and then the other one, I can kind of make it more 3D by like attaching it to the back, and I just glue that to the back of the pumpkin stem. But kind of all the leaves bundled together, kind of all going out one direction. Not a lot of fuss, just something really simple to decorate the top of it, and this is how it turned out. Our paper bag and book page pumpkin. I really hope you're enjoying these DIYs today. I've never really crafted with paper bags before, but I was a big fan. I think they're just a really great material to craft fall DIYs with, and the book page look, I really love that. Now the next DIY, I wanted to see if I could cover a Dollar Tree foam pumpkin with some small animal bedding. So basically it's aspen wood shavings that you use for like hamsters, bunnies. It's like a bedding. It's really cheap. And I had some left over from a resin DIY that I did on my channel. And I looked high and low on the internet. I couldn't find anybody ever covering their pumpkin with wood shavings like this. And so I must be the first crazy one with this idea. I really love how it turned out. I thought it would look really rustic and neutral for fall, and so that's what we're going to do. I just pop the stem off the Dollar Tree white foam pumpkin because I want to replace that with something else. And I'm going to flip it over, remove the sticker from the bottom, and I'm going to try to do the bottom half of it first. So I wanted a really thick glue, so I'm using that Dollar Tree tacky glue because it's a really strong glue and it's thick. So I'm just going over the bottom half of the pumpkin because I wanted to do half at a time. Now what I did find was that it might be easier to do the bottom, the top, and then the sides because the sides is definitely kind of the hardest part to get it to stick to. But I thought I kind of like, like cooking, like if you're breading something. So I'm getting it wet. I filled up my paper plate full of the wood shavings. And I'm just going to kind of dip it in there and see what will stick. So I put the glue side of the pumpkin down into it, kind of roll it around, flip it over and see how much stuck. I mean, a good amount stuck, but you can still see a lot of the white foam pumpkin through it. So I just pick some up and make sure it sticks. And then I have to kind of manually put the sides on anyway. And I just pick up a little scoop at a time, sticking it to it the best that I can. Now, be prepared if you're going to make this. It is a messy project. It turned out amazing, but it was really messy. I do craft in my garage, so I'm not too concerned, but you might want to do this one outside for real. So I have the first coat on there. What I want to do now is to take like a spray glue, like one of these from the Dollar Tree, and spray glue on there so I can do like a second coat to cover it a little bit better and to maybe glue that down from the top. So I just use that spray glue and go over it to make it nice and wet with glue again. And we're just going to dip it in here one more time to see if we can make it thicker, and flip it over, kind of help by adding more to it, seeing what will stick to the bottom and to the sides. Now you do have to be careful touching it once you have them on there because while it's super wet like that, they do fall off easily. I was thinking if I should mix the glue with the wood shavings before I put it on there, but I thought it would be so messy to do it that way. And then I didn't really know how I would get it to attach. So I'm doing it separately with the tacky glue on the foam first. So I'm doing the top and the sides of the top with another thick coat of tacky glue. The thicker you can get it, the better luck you're going to have. And then I sit it down inside there, try to get some to stick. But again, flipping it over and kind of forcing some down into the glue gets way better coverage. And then you have to do that again with the sides. Now this is a fragile piece. I do find a way to make it a little bit more durable here, you'll see. But this is my first round of gluing that on there. So I go over it again with some of the spray glue to kind of glue it on top and try to, make sure it stays on there. I'm going to add some more since I got it wet with the glue again. And you can see my biggest problem was the sides falling off. So you might want to do the bottom, the top, and then the sides because it just did not want to stick to the sides as much. Just some gravity not working in my favor. So I just go around and add glue, add more of the wood shavings to the side until I get pretty decent coverage. And I'm thinking that the spray glue is not strong enough, so I went back with just more tacky glue, and I'm not using my brush because I already have the wood shavings on there. I just squirted the tacky glue on there and then added more of the wood shavings to it and then sprayed the other glue on top. And that seemed to work a little bit better than just the spray glue. I don't know if the spray glue really did a lot, to be honest. I'm going to use a sealer here in a minute on it, and I think that did a lot better. The tacky glue worked way better than the other kind. So I just add more tacky glue, and as you can see, I told you it was going to be messy. I do kind of have wood chips everywhere. Luckily, I have my silicone mat down. But I have it pretty good and covered now, so I sprayed it with one more round of that glue to try to make sure everything is attached. And then I let it dry for a little bit. And now I'm going to go in and pick out one of these Dollar Tree wood stems to make a really fun little rustic pumpkin stem. I just kind of push that in to the foam from the top without really disturbing much on there. And now what I want to do is seal it. I have some of the Mod Podge sealer that comes in a can like this. I actually got this at Target, I believe. And it is a sealer, and you spray it on. Now, I was worried it was going to knock some of the wood off, and I had to be a little bit careful spraying it on here, but I'm really glad that I took this step because it made the wood shavings harder, and I really think they're going to stay in place more. So I let that sit for a couple hours with the Mod Podge sealer on there. Now everything seems dry, really well attached. I did want to make like a little tendril to go on the top of it. And so I'm actually going to use one of these little acorn picks from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to borrow a tendril off there. They're like wrapped in paper, so I thought that would be a nice brown color. I'm just going to wrap it around a paintbrush here to kind of make it a little bit smaller tendril. And I think it might need to be a little bit smaller. I'm going to shorten it a little bit. And I'm just going to stick that wire down into the top with the wood stem. I didn't really glue it in place. I just kind of used friction to hold those both into the top of the pumpkin. But this is how it turned out. My wood shavings pumpkin DIY. I was actually able to pull it off. As you can see, it's really cool. It is delicate. It's something that you're going to want to sit on a shelf and not mess with too much. But I think it turned out really cool. I just love all the texture and the colors of it. I think it's just really pretty for fall.
Okay, the next DIY, I thought we could take this little purple mesh pumpkin from Dollar Tree. This is from like the Halloween aisle, and make it into something really pretty because it's got a great pumpkin structure. Just not a fan of all of this purple mesh that's on there. And I want to give it a fall vibe, less of a Halloween vibe. So just a matter of deconstructing, taking that all off. It came with like an LED candle, which I tried to use it first by just reattaching it, but I didn't really like the vibe of the little LED light bulb in there. So I did end up replacing that with a battery operated candle from Dollar Tree. But it was a little bit of work to get all this deco mesh off, especially here at the top. Used a little heat to try to kind of break up the glue, and we have the metal structure. Now, I thought it'd be really fun to combine maybe a couple different types of the Dollar Tree rope on this one. So this is the brown thinner rope, and then we're also going to use the white thinner nautical rope from Dollar Tree and do different like sections, the different colors. So I chose for like the smaller rings inside, the ones that don't come out quite as far, we could do the brown rope. So I just cut one down to size and use that for reference to cut out all the others. And then we're simply just going to attach the rope with some hot glue. I just go from kind of the ring at the top to the ring at the bottom. That way it doesn't interfere with the candle operation there at the bottom. And we're just going to make this look like a really beautiful, like neutral color rope pumpkin for fall. That's also going to light up. So that's a little fun benefit. Once I got all the brown rope on there, I'm just going to kind of burn off any of the fuzzies. And then we can start working on the other section. I really like the idea of the two-tone rope. And definitely it goes with the neutral color scheme. So same thing, we're just going to cut down enough of these pieces to cover all of the other sections of the pumpkin and attach them with hot glue. I used the thinner white rope, but you could always use the larger diameter ones as well. There's kind of plenty of room to work with here. I just want to cover up all of the wire that you'd be able to see on the outside of it, but I don't really care if you can kind of see it on the inside. It's just going to provide like another like industrial touch, that like metal wire in there. Now, I didn't want to sit super flat like this, so I thought we would also make just a little base by doing a little ring of rope here at the bottom, where kind of all of the little rope pieces come around the little candle holder. And that's going to give it kind of a more solid base, make it stand up flat. And that looks pretty cool. Now we just need to decorate the pumpkin stem. I chose the white rope for that part, and we're just going to wind that around the little metal pumpkin stem that's already on that, kind of starting here at the very bottom, using a little hot glue to get it started, and then just simply wrapping it around, kind of gluing it to itself until I have a little pumpkin stem on the top here. Nothing too tall, but maybe a little taller than was on there before. And that's what it looks like so far. It's coming along. That's how it looks with like the little LED bulb in there, which I wasn't a big fan of, so I did end up switching that out. I think it looks really pretty. You could kind of leave it like this, but I wanted to kind of take it up a notch and give it a little bit more decor. But I also wanted to stay kind of like with the neutrals, so I'm going to use some of these like, they're kind of like foam, white ivory flowers. They're vase fillers from Target. I think they're really beautiful. And I'm just going to glue some of those on there. And then I thought I would combine that with some of these little wood curl roses from Dollar Tree. These are like the sola wood. And it's going to totally go with that like white and brown neutral color scheme. So I thought it would be cute to kind of do two different kinds of flowers. And so maybe a couple of those as well. Then I always like to do a pumpkin tendril. You know me, so I'm going to use a little bit of that wire jute. Make a simple little pumpkin tendril to finish off this cute little rope pumpkin. And I think it looks so much better than it did before. That's when I decided I really didn't like the little LED light bulbs down here. I didn't think they really went with my vibe. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. I had hot glued it in, so just trying to melt the hot glue there. We're going to pop that out. It's the same size as the little battery-operated tea light candles. And so I'm just going to use that instead by popping that right in there too. And here it is, our little rope pumpkin candle holder, I suppose. Very neutral color scheme. Super fun DIY to put together. And it looks so much prettier, I think, than the purple one did.
Really, really nice. Now I wanted to do like a fall floral. So we're just going to take a Dollar Tree mason jar and see if we can kind of do like a similar technique on this. Again, the paper lunch bags from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut strips of these to see if I can do it like a similar effect on the jar to cover it up, just to make it look like a fun fall planter. So again, just cutting strips, trying to get as many strips as I can out of these. Even if I overlap the bottom a little bit there, no big deal. And I just wanted to do a simple fall floral with lamb's ear, some of the pampas grass, and some of the Dollar Tree pumpkins. So again, I take my paper bag and just crinkle my strip up as much as I can. I've seen one person did this. They braided theirs and they covered like a large vase or pot or something with it. I did try braiding some of this and I didn't really like the way it looked. I liked it more like crinkled up like this than trying to actually braid it. And braiding is kind of hard. I don't know if it's because these lunch bags are thin, but I found that the material wanted to tear a little bit. So we're just going to scrunch it like we've been doing. I just start at the base of the mason jar and attach it with hot glue. There's enough to go around once, and you could do that, but I'm going to kind of spiral it to kind of make sure I use all the materials I can. And again, the more you wad it up, the better it's going to work and look as you're gluing it on. I want it to kind of be going all different directions and folds. and it actually covers quite a bit as well. This is just the small mason jar. I didn't want anything too big. I just wanted kind of a small floral that's going to coordinate with other DIYs that we've made today. And again, just a lot of twisting and crinkling and hot gluing, but it gives you a really fun effect. Now, this is the project that I'm also going to seal. It's the first one that I sealed, being a planter or a vase. I thought I would try to make it a little bit more durable with sealing it, and I wanted to see how the paper bag holds up to the sealer being applied to it, and I was pleasantly surprised. Kind of makes it harder, a little bit more durable, but nothing too different in color or anything like that. So again, I just continue that spiral all the way up, kind of like if I was covering something like the candle holder in rope. And I want to cover all of it all the way up around the top of the jar too. But I'm not really going to go inside the jar or anything like that. Just all the way up to the lip. And again, this is super forgiving. And if you do have a piece that's folded out a little bit, you can always hot glue it down so it doesn't stick out too much. But it almost gives you a natural ruffle effect. So this is what it looks like. I told you I was going to seal it. For the sealer, I'm just going to use some Mod Podge clear acrylic sealer that I have. And I just wanted to see if this would make it a little bit more durable. Just because the nature of being a vase, I don't know. I thought I would try it. And at first it makes the paper bag darker, which I was worried that it was kind of change the color. But after a quick dry with my heat gun, it lightened up to really look like all the other projects that we did today. But look at all that fun texture. I think the color is perfect for a fall vase. It's pretty thin. I'm just going to cut down some floral foam from the Dollar Tree, just a couple pieces just to fill it up. So I have something to put the florals in. To cover that up, I use a little bit of that brown floral moss that they have, just to go to the very top of the vase. Now, the pampas grass is like some of the fall colors. I would guess it's a fall color. It's kind of a tan color. I'm going to kind of cut them in individual pieces. This one had 4 on there. I'm just going to need 3. I like to work with odd numbers, so I kind of put one of the pampas grass going out in each direction. I usually don't mix this with any other greenery, but for fun, I thought I would try mixing it with some lamb's ear. Now, these are the shorter lamb's ear bundles that you can get at the Dollar Tree. The other ones are quite a bit taller. So I think these are going to work perfectly for the size jar. I think they're going to be just about the right size. I'm just going to leave it all attached, put one on this side, and then I'm going to do the same thing here with the second bundle on the other side. It's not a super large jar, so it's not going to take a lot to fill it up. But I kind of like the contrast with the pampas grass and the lamb's ear. It's definitely an interesting combination for fall and a little bit unexpected. Now for the pumpkins, I wanted to make my own little pumpkin picks using some Dollar Tree pumpkins. These are the ones that have the wires on them, but I liked them because they were small and they were ivory, so I was going to go with the color scheme. I'm going to use a total of 3 of them and make 3 picks just using some kitchen skewers from the kitchen section at Dollar Tree. And I don't think I need to shorten them at all. I think they're about the right length. You could always stain these if you wanted. I'm just going to leave them natural. I just poke them into the bottom of the foam pumpkins, trying to make sure I don't go all the way through, and just poke that down into the floral foam. Again, I like to work with odd numbers for most things with florals. I'm just going to do one every 1/3 of the way around. Very subtle, very easy fall floral arrangement, and using the paper bag technique for the jar. And I think that looks pretty good. You can kind of arrange it, make sure it is everything's exactly where you want it to be, but definitely interesting and fun for fall. It's definitely not like any of the fall florals that I've made in the past. The pampas grass is a little crazy looking, but I kind of like that look. And the paper bag technique for the jar, I think, turned out really cool. Has so much texture. I don't think you would be able to guess that that was made out of a paper bag for sure. But I like it. I think it's pretty cool.
I'm going to use this little wood leaf sign that I got at Dollar Tree and try to remake it. It does have a monogram on them, which is totally not my monogram. So we're going to DIY this, make it into a neutral fall decor. Now, I thought that that wallpaper of the fall leaves on it was kind of busy and that you might be able to see it even through the burlap bag that I'm going to use that has a backing on it. So the first step was just to try to mask that. So I just went over the front of the fall leaf. It's like a chunky leaf. It stands up on its own with just some white acrylic. I probably used a little bit too much paint, and that did cause it to kind of drip down the sides there on the top where I couldn't really see it. I did discover it though, but I really couldn't clean it up. It's on that like MDF material. So that's okay. I had to do something with it at that point. I didn't really want to paint it, but I thought we could hide it if we kind of look like we did it on purpose. So we are just going to distress white all along the sides. It's totally going to go with everything, and it's just going to make it look a little bit more decorative. I do want some of the brown to show through for sure though. So I'm just using a chunky brush from Dollar Tree and just distressing all around just to kind of fix that. And try not to try not to get paint everywhere. And I think that's going to do a good job though of masking it so you won't be able to see that design through it. Now for the word that I want to add to the little fall leaf, I'm going to use one of these little wood Hello Fall signs from the Dollar Tree. And I just stained it with some antique wax by Waverly, wiping off the excess with a baby wipe so it's not too dark. And then I'm going to use one of these burlap bags from the Dollar Tree. I love crafting with these. I just can't seem to not get paint on the back of this sign, but that's okay. I cleaned it up a little bit. Now I'm just going to lay it flat down against the back like that because I don't want like a mirror cut or anything like that. I want an exact cut so I'll be able to get it to fit on there. And then I just used a Sharpie to trace it out. I tried to use like a bronze color, so if I got any on there, it wouldn't be real obvious, but the Sharpie was a little hard to get in the little areas, especially that one. So I do have to kind of go back with an ink pen to kind of get in there, but I just wanted to draw it out so that I can cut it down to size perfectly. So this is just in half of one of these little bags that I had left over because I craft with these all the time. I love them because they don't fray. You're going to get the look of burlap. And they have this plastic coating on the back so you can totally draw on it, cut things down to size. And you can see how easily this cuts out, especially with like an intricate pattern like this. Like if I were using like the real burlap, there's like no way I would be able to cut out like a perfect leaf shape like this. So just going around all the different curves of our little maple leaf and cutting that down to size. Now it does have a plastic backing on it, but you can still Mod Podge it down. And that's what I'm going to do because I don't want hot glue. Hot glue might cause some ridges and stuff in that and melt the plastic on the back of the burlap. So I think Mod Podge is going to work, but you do have to kind of do a fairly thick layer. So I just use some Dollar Tree matte Mod Podge, smoothing that all out, and then laying our little burlap leaf right on top. Now this is going to kind of sit like at an angle like that. That's how it stands on its own. So I got to remember that before I add the word. And then I'm just going to hot glue on the little stained Hello Fall word, just to give it a little bit more personality. Now I thought it needed one more thing, so I picked up some of these little laser cut leaves from the Dollar Tree, and I thought this one would be perfect. It's like a variety of different kinds of leaves. It fits in perfectly. It's brown, so it kind of matches like what we stained the Hello Fall for. I just have to figure out which way I want it on there, and I think I like that. So I just hot glue it on. Now I like the brown color. It matches, but it is kind of obvious that it's kind of that like cardboardy material. So I'm just gonna do a very minor faux like wood grain stain with some antique wax by Waverly and a chunky brush, just very lightly, giving it a little bit of a wood grain, and it's going to make it look like it's the same material that the Hello Fall is made out of, like it's made out of wood. And this is how it turned out, our little burlap Hello Fall leaf. Again, this is a nice small size, so this would be a really cute DIY for your fall tier tray, or basically anywhere that you want a little bit of fall.
I really like the texture of the burlap on there, and the distressing on the sides actually looks pretty cool too.
Now, the next DIY, I picked up these wood beads at Dollar Tree, and these are the chunky cube ones. And I'll show you in a minute why I wanted the cube ones instead of the round ones, but you could probably do it with the round ones as well. What I wanted to do was to do a really fun, like neutral burlap pumpkin with some raw wood beads on there. So I just cut some Dollar Tree burlap down larger than I need for my little pumpkin sign. And I had a scrap piece that was going to work perfect for this. The only thing is you really do kind of have to iron it to be able to work with it, because the way that they roll it up, it's just a little bit all bent up and it makes it a little bit harder to work with. So I just give it a quick iron with my Cricut Easy Press, and then I'm just going to leave it as a rectangle, trim it up later, but for now I can go ahead and attach that to the wood pumpkin. I'm going to go ahead and leave the little hanger on that. Maybe we can go ahead and save that. And I'm going to connect the burlap to the pumpkin sign with Mod Podge. I like to use Mod Podge for burlap. I do a nice thick layer since it is fabric. You know, it's going to be kind of heavier. And it does a pretty good job of drying clear if it does seep through the burlap a little bit. And I just smooth the burlap out. I'm not too concerned with the pumpkin stem because I want to do something different for that one. But then I just use like a dry paper towel just to like kind of spread that out, make sure it is good and attached. I'm going to go ahead and trim the burlap down to size. I didn't really even wait for it to dry, but it was good enough to kind of keep it in place. Now, this is so easy with this shape. It's not an intricate shape like the leaf that we did earlier and stuff like that. Kind of like just cutting around a circle. The only tricky parts are like up here when you kind of get around the pumpkin stem and stuff like that. I was kind of cutting it around it, and then I remembered that I was going to do something different for the pumpkin stem anyway, so no need. So once I get it on there, then you can just kind of trim up any loose parts. The burlap's always going to have a little bit of raveling around the edges, but this one actually looks pretty good. And make sure all of your edges are glued down. Now for the pumpkin stem, I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree twine, and I'm just going to start here on the base on the back, hot gluing that to it, wrapping it around, and only hot gluing when I really need to. You are going around like a little bend there in the pumpkin stem, so it does make it a little tricky to wrap it, but I just kind of wrap as much as I can in one direction. And then if I have some areas that I need to skip, I do. And I can always go back and fill those in. Now, when you get to the tip of it like this, you just kind of have to hot glue it. I want to cover up like all of the wood part there too, though. But again, I'm not cutting my twine at this point. I'm just kind of leaving it all connected, just trying to get that finished where it looks nice. And then I can kind of go back and fill in any of the empty like triangular sections there with more twine, wrapping it around until it's nice and full. We're going to hot glue it back to the base and trim off the excess. Now, the reason I got the cube shape would-be garlands, you don't really get a whole lot on a string from the Dollar Tree. But the reason I did is because they're flat, so it would be really kind of serve the same purpose, like if you were going to do the wood half beads. I do get those sometimes on Amazon, but this is another option. This is something from the Dollar Tree that you can use where you can glue something flat to it. I have done this with the round beads too, though, from the Dollar Tree, and it does work, but I thought this would look cool. It's going to make it look really chunky. I'm leaving them the natural wood color. And the first step is just going around in an oval shape, using the bottom to know where you want that oval shape of the pumpkin, the different sections to go. And I just kind of hot glue a section at a time, trying to kind of guess where that would be. And mine was like almost long enough to make it around it was like one bead short here at the top, but we can always just fill that in. And I did end up using all 3 packages of the wood cube for this size pumpkin. And I just go ahead and leave them strung like that, hot gluing that down, trying to make my shape look a little bit better, and then just filling in my gap with one more of the little cube-shaped wood beads. Now we're going to start here on the other side. They are kind of tied off with like the string tied around the wood bead. And so I just kind of glue that part down to the burlap so you can't really see it. Just saves a step. And whenever you are gluing them on and they're all strung together like this, it just makes it a lot easier. So I'm just doing like a C shape here for the left side. And then gluing that down. I'm not going to bother tying that off or anything like that. I thought I had maybe one too many, so I did take one off there at the bottom and then trim off the twine. Here is the 3rd package. That's what I'm talking about. You don't really get very many on these. They used to give you more. And then we're just going to do like the reverse C shape here on this side. And I really like the twine, the burlap, and the raw wood on the beads. I think they all work really nice together for a fun neutral color scheme. Just trying to get this as tight and rounded as I can. And if I don't have any of the wood beads glued down, I also go in and touch that up as well. Now I wanted to dress this up a little bit. I didn't really want to put anything on the burlap part of the pumpkin though. I think that looks really cool, but I did want to dress up the top of the pumpkin stem a little bit. So I kind of wanted neutral colors, so I thought like these little burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree would work if they were way smaller. So I'm just actually going to cut the top part off to make some small leaves. I thought I was going to use green and tan. I ended up only using tan just because I didn't have as much room on there as I thought. So I just kind of trimmed them down to make them look like a little fall leaf. And then I am just going to hot glue that on here, right there in that gap. It kind of fills in the gap between the wood beads. And then the other side, instead of doing a leaf, I am just going to do some wired jute instead. We can just do a little bit of a curly tendril. And I just do that by wrapping that real quick. And you have to be careful you don't work with this too much though, because it does definitely come off the wire. I just trimmed mine down and then hot glue it right there to the top. And then as you can see, I kind of left the end all jagged like that, just so I can do a quick trim at the end. And I just trimmed that down to size. And that is how this DIY turned out. This is a nice burlap neutral color of fall pumpkin. And this is how it looks hanging in my house. I really like all the different colors of tan and brown and all the different materials that we use today. I think they look really good. You'll have to let me know in the comments below which one of these DIYs was your favorite. And this is this one.
I really hope you enjoyed these 20 neutral fall Dollar Tree DIYs. Some of my very favorite DIYs, very pretty with the neutral color scheme. Let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments below, or just come say hello. Also, don't forget about my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, for individual DIYs on your phone. Enjoy the final reveal.
Open up the window, I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold when the autumn since I was a little child. Every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. I wonder where they're going, the flight of swallows sailing through the sky. There's no way of knowing, but maybe someplace far from you and I. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Dancing through the last days of September. Rusty red on her shoulder, I was cleaning her shoe when it clicked on the trot over in the bright morning dew. We brushed and we braided dandelions and jute. It was a mutual arrangement we both saw into. Can she walk in the fire? Can she run in the rain? Can she make it up the mountainside? Can she make it down again? I have often wondered if she'll go and jump the fence. Will she keep on moving onward or stay in what could have been? Broke my arm in December, we were running for the thrill. You turned in the canyon to the snowbank where I fell. Even still, I remember knowing she could feel it too. Was a mutual arrangement we both.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's fall crafting marathon. I also want to give a huge thank you to my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, Maria Cruz Pagan, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Lori Hollingsworth, Mindy Hupp, and Chinny. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video on your phone or your computer. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube and a badge next to your name when you comment down below. And we would also love to see your DIYs. Be sure to share your DIYs with us in our private Facebook group, always linked in the description of the video. And I post a lot of DIYs on my Facebook page too, so you should be sure to check that out. Make sure that you're following my page. Now, if you'd like even more fall crafting inspiration using items from the Dollar Tree, be sure to check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for fall.